What I think, I've heard
Thank you everyone for being here on time. We're just gonna wait a couple minutes for the folks online to make sure that the streaming can be heard.
What?
I wish you'd come and grab.
I love John. Wow. That sounds really bad.
Good. Awesome.
No, that's somebody that
Take what?
We need to go to links. Grab a couple.
Okay. Well, wait, if I can. Yeah, that would scare me. So good to know.
The dude's wearing 40 pounds of
No.
stuff.
Yeah.
You wanna-
Okay, yeah, you can pay for it. I'm not paying for it.
What?
We all pay for the golf cart. Well, I didn't like to drink this. I don't have like. Oh, I don't have. Okay, well, you'll pay it.
We need to shoot the ball.
Really? I'm sensing an idea. Sounds like such a good idea. We need to get the links.
YOLO.
Well, I didn't have to worry about that.
I was saying.
Somebody to hold that bill right after the approval of the minutes, since it's a quick funding bill.
Okay, yeah, because the groups do take precedent if they're here. Is that like the UDK?
It's the KJHK.
I'm sorry, KJHK.
No, you're
Yeah, not a good one to confuse.
No, not as much.
Like, what's the key?
Maybe I'm wrong, but looking about, I think. Go ahead and bring
We can play
Yes, I can tell you. Probably like 9:20.
Where are you? Are you done for something?
Oh my God.
Why would you do that? So far, it's kind of a hope.
I've been excited. Yeah.
Dumb stress. I have PTSD from that course.
They said they needed my official transcript. Yeah, so I can sense it, but just like,
Well, I remember that.
what's it called? You know, my like advising. Yeah, order when I don't know. I would imagine unofficial. Well, I'm thinking. Do you guys think I will? Yeah, I just said to just to like.
Kind of ironic.
I mean, they bought something else.
No, I'm saying.
There's someone. Let her get situated real quick and then we'll go.
And then I was like, well, I'm just joking. Like, it's like.
All right, everyone, thank you for joining us here tonight. It does look like we have a quorum of members here with us, so I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. All right, thank you. All right, so the first item we'll go to on our agenda is the approval of the cycle 12 minutes. Do I see a motion to approve? I see a motion from Holly. Do I see a second? I see a second from Wesley. All right, is there anyone who objects to moving to a vote on approval of the cycle 12 minutes? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and get a poll posted. All right, that poll has now been released. Do you approve the cycle 12 minutes? Yes, if you'd like to approve them. No, if you would not like to approve the minutes. And abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. While you are voting here, I'm also going to make an announcement that I will be seeking a motion at 7 p.m. to go into recess so that we can go ahead and take our Senate group photo. All right, and Jenny, I see your question in the chat, so I'll move to respond to it here. Where do I find the poll again? The poll is going to be located on the Students Assembly teams.
I was shadow boxing. All right, we're currently looking for one more vote to meet quorum. Otherwise, we're looking good.
I'm gonna show him the speed up.
Actually, yes. It's actually always at your
I wouldn't
place.
say that.
I need to. Now I'm kind of concerned. This is what I came out of bed with.
Rick,
When we walk down?
I'm not sure, actually.
I don't have, I thought it worked for a while. No, but I can't remember. That's true, that's what I'm saying. Master your husband. It's fine.
All right, so we still have votes rolling in. I'm going to go ahead and give 30 more seconds on this vote, and then we'll probably look to close it since we do have quorum. For those who are joining us, we are currently voting on the cycle 12 minutes. This does count as our first attendance vote of the night.
You want to pull these further ahead.
Do we have a
Yeah,
quorum?
like,
What's our quorum? We do have a quorum.
I'm in.
Like, the students represent, they get.
Yeah, what are we doing?
Oh, people were still voting, so I gave them a second.
Yes.
Sorry, that wasn't like, I was just curious.
Oh, you're fine. You're keeping pace. All right, so now that we do have all these votes in, it does seem that no one else is voting. All right, so is there anyone who objects to closing the vote? All right, seeing none, I'll move to close the vote. And with 31 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 abstention, this motion clearly passes. All right, first item of the night there. Oh, I see a motion to move into committee of the whole from Max. Do I see a second? All right, I see a second from Sadie. All right, and is there anyone in objection to moving into committee of the whole? Can you state the intended reason to move into a committee of the whole?
Yes, is a funding bill for KJHK.
Oh, could you say it into a mic?
Yes. Funding bill for KJHK.
All right. And with that in mind, is there anyone who objects into moving into committee of the whole to generate funding legislation regarding KJHK?
Are we allowed to, like, can we do that in special session?
I mean, ideally, yeah.
Okay, cool, that was my question, great, let's do it.
Brilliant. All right, if no one objects, then we are now in committee of the whole. Max, if you want to go introduce the legislation. And then about how many minutes are you going to need?
Probably like 2 or 3. Just do
Two.
5 in case there's questions, probably.
Sounds good.
Is this thing on?
Sounds like it.
Okay.
Well, I guess we have to.
So I take it. Oh, why is that? I think I sent an old version. Camden Baxter is the sponsor. We can friendly that right now.
Okay, yeah. Here.
Outside.
Can't.
We blow it up a bit, my eyesight's
Oh,
terrible.
enable editing.
Yeah, and are we also sharing it on the Teams screen?
You can erase the name position and come back to this.
Let me just open this. There we go. Wait, can folks? One second. Let me make sure it's the right one.
Okay. Right now, folks can see a green screen online.
A green screen.
If you just like share the Word document itself.
Share. I think it's this one. There we go. Okay. Nice.
Okay, yeah, we're up online.
Okay, perfect. I assume most people know what KJHK is, so I'm not going to get into that. But this bill is specific to equipment they need. They've already done community fundraising, so they raised $3,850. They need $5,054. All the specific equipment they're raising money for is the Canon 90 DSLR, Osmo for DSLR, GoPro travel kit, tripod, Osmo for iPhone, 70 to 200 millimeter Canon lenses, and the GoPro Hero 8. This is all key to kind of content creation and keeping the station running smoothly. By funding this now, we prevent a potential fee ask and allow for KJHK to do its thing. So that's the bill.
All right, brilliant. And with that, are there any questions? Holly, I see a motion from you. Oh,
So
yeah. You go ahead.
I don't know if I want to give you the mic.
Get the catch box over there.
Hey Max, this is gonna be a quick question. Sharks for arms or bears for legs?
That is unprofessional.
Come on. That's the last meeting.
Sharks for arms.
That's what I'm saying.
Sharks for arms. All right. And with that, Holly, I recognize your motion. Do I see a second anywhere? See a second from Stu. All right. Is there anyone who objects to moving out of committee of the whole with this legislation? All right. Seeing no objections and hearing none online, we can go ahead and move out. So we are now out of committee of the whole. So that legislation is now on the agenda. Do we want to move to a vote?
Yeah.
All right, I see a motion from Holly. I see a second from Wesley. All right, is there anyone who objects to moving towards a vote on this legislation for a bill to fund equipment for KJHK? Seeing no objections, we will now go ahead and move towards a vote. All right, and how was this legislation coded, Humberto?
It would be. I have to check. Uh, 066. Yeah.
Actually, it's a good
Yep.
All right, that poll has now been posted in the chat here. Do you approve Senate Bill 2022-66? Yes, if you would like to approve this legislation. No, if you would not like to, and abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. And I'll get that about a minute and a half here. All right, we currently have 23 votes. We are looking for 7 more votes before we reach quorum.
What do I do?
All right, so we've currently met quorum, but I am still seeing votes roll in, so we'll add an additional 30 seconds and then look to close the vote. All right, is there anyone who can vote on this matter that has not yet done so? Seeing none, I will move to close the vote. And with a vote of 31 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this motion passes unanimously. And with that, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda here, which is the Educational Opportunity Fund campus fee.
Oh, right.
A motion?
Okay, well, the organization fee has been approved yet, so it's on the agenda, but
I
You
think
want to do that?
got approved last time. Wait, let me.
If you want
No,
to, there should be any help below the EOF and.
you're right. You're right. So
I believe it was moved up though.
so just sorry, Sadie, was it adding the one like adding the organization fee to the list
Yeah, to the top.
to the top? Okay.
Yeah, I have a student organization.
I have it approved here on like our agenda from the last meeting. So is it the amendment that block allows or? Was it?
Yeah, but they approve through the ones we have for. No, right. Then we can stop here. Get down to the day.
Yeah, but it was above because like the organization of like the fees that got voted on got restructured as well during the meeting. Yeah.
Okay, motion to reopen.
Okay.
So do you want? I think we have it next to the block. Should I move it up to? Yeah.
Well, like ultimately the block funding is like an amendment to the student org fee because it is that
Oh,
fee.
Gotcha.
So it's there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want them to have to wait throughout.
So for block
There we go.
itself.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. So we can just
Oh.
move that item up on the agenda. Cool.
So we're doing block up to the top.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
All right. So Sadie, will you be amending your motion to do just that? Okay. So we now have a motion to move the block groups and student organization fee up to the top here.
There we go.
Do I see a second? See a second from Wesley? All right. And with that, is there anyone in this room who objects to moving the block groups and student organization fee business to the top of the agenda?
Well, I have a question.
Yeah?
I don't want to say object, but I also have students here that are just here for EOF that are not senators. What EOF? Yeah, but why should it go above EOF when I also got people in?
Would you like to seek an objection or?
I don't feel like people are going to vote on my behalf. I'm just saying there's also student for student training for EOF too, so I don't think so.
I mean, that would be a reason to object and we could still hold the vote,
Okay,
but
I'm going to object then. I know I'm
yeah.
not going to win.
All right.
For the folks online, just FYI, Holly objected to the motion, so we're gonna vote on that.
All right, so everyone's clear on what's being posted in the chat here. It's do you approve amending the agenda to place the block funding bill at the top? Yes, if you would like to approve this change to the agenda. No, if you would like to maintain the current agenda. And abstain if you'd like to stay out of the vote. As a reminder, this only requires a simple majority to pass. And so I'll let that run for about a minute and a half and see where we're at.
Yes, you're.
Oh, really?
But from this what's I would assume because all those other what's
All right, it does look like we've reached quorum with this vote here. Is there anyone who has the ability to vote that has not yet done so? All right, seeing more votes roll in, I'll give another 30 seconds, but then we will look to close the vote. All right, it's looking like changes in the poll have stopped, and so we will move to close the vote. All right, and with a vote of 19 in the affirmative to 8 in the negative to 5 abstentions, this motion clearly passes. So the agenda is amended and the student org fee with block funding is placed above everything else. And Sadie, does 2 or 5 work better? Okay.
Here we go.
Sounds good.
Is this bill okay, the one we need? Or yeah, or the presentation?
Oh, this is good for now,
Oh.
for block. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. All right, you'll have 5 minutes whenever you're ready to begin.
Okay. Does this need to be blown up at all? Can everyone see it okay? The size of the font and everything? Actually, that may have been an empty offer because I don't know if I know how to do it. How do I do it?
Maybe try on this.
Oh, on this one?
And
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Sorry, I was like, I just realized I asked and I was like, oh, I actually don't know. Is that better? Okay, cool. Okay, so I'm gonna go through the block bill. So I tried to do it a different way, but then we ended up here, and so we're just gonna roll with it. And so really quickly, so this is a portion of the student organization fee. So the student organization fee was already approved. And so this is basically just like a subset of that. And so the block funding is basically a way for student organizations at KU to get access to funding that isn't through Wednesday night. So for those of you who don't know, everything that we do here, like all the funding requests that we approve and things, like what we did for KJHK right now, if they ask for that funding, they have to spend it in the semester it's allocated, basically. So you can't like ask for funding in August and spend it in April. So that's why this block funding stream exists, because it basically allows student organizations to apply for funding a fiscal year in advance, so then they have the whole next fiscal year to spend it. So it's really beneficial for larger student organizations that have some large events, large endeavors, things like that, that take a lot of planning, a lot of time to create, so then they can spend that money throughout the year. And so like a great example of that is FINSA, that with the powwow that they had this past weekend, they're on the DEI like line, which is a similar type of idea. So then they can like get that money allocated a year in advance. They know exactly what they're working with before they even start planning for that event. So then they have a full year. So that's kind of like the thought process behind it. And so for block, there's not just student organizations. There's also some different like fee entities on campus or block entities on campus. But you'll see that they kind of like lean more towards like student experience than fee does. So up first, we have band. They were allocated through block and approved by finance for $47,500. That's $7,500 for supplies and expenses, $15,000 for personnel services, and then capital expenditures, $25,000. And that capital expenditures is mostly some instruments and things like that. Sport and Exercise Psychology Club is $2,210. That was just supplies and expenses. The University Dance Company is $13,000, which is production expenses. The Lead Center of Kansas is $97,500. Personnel services is $90,000, and Jayhawk Live Artist fees is $7,500. University Theater is $57,000, and that's primarily production expenses. I don't know what I think this is supposed to be 57, but we can friendly that in. Natural History Museum is $20,000, and their personnel services that's for personnel. Case managers is $64,980, and that's also for personnel. Whenever you see personnel, it's usually people's wages. So most of the time, student wages. Case managers is staff, and so that was an initiative from last year. Spencer Museum of Art is $35,000, so $20,000 of that for personnel services, and then exhibition and programming is at $15,000. For forensics, which is KU debate, is what most of you all will know it as. It's the same. It's $25,000, and competition costs is what's composed of. So that's how they pay for their debaters to go get places. The CCO, or Center for Community Outreach, was allocated $68,671. Supplies and expenses for their volunteering programs for $4,500. Personnel services $51,670.25. And then other expenses $15,000. And then the Graduate Student Advisory Board is $32,291. For graduate printing, $1,000, and then personnel services, $31,291. Something of note: most of that personnel services goes to our graduate student body president. That was moved into block this year. Just so you all know what that number is. No, I don't think, but just so you know. Student Senate administration is $148,514. Office supplies is $15,000. Travel fund is $5,000. Standing councils is $250. Staff salaries is $117,936. Chair salaries is $8,190. Vice chair salaries is $1,638. And so then among these, the big changes is first, there are some hour changes. We went over it in fee for student organization, so you guys all saw that big breakdown, but it's in the fee presentation if you don't fully recall it. So there are some new positions added, and then generally speaking, the hour requirements were lower to make these more accessible to different students. And then so there's more positions added to kind of pick up that weight. And then the chair salaries were increased this year, and then vice chair salaries were added. The chair salary is at $10.50 an hour for 5 hours a week. Vice chairs, $10.50 an hour for 1 hour a week. So those are some newer initiatives that are going to be really good. I think create a more equitable space in Student Senate. Up next, we have the big event, that $4,900, supplies and expenses, $1,500, rent and utilities, $2,700, and then site box structures, it's like storage for them, $700. And then mock trial, $14,225, and competition costs. Engineering Student Council, $1,300, which is just supplies and expenses. And then Jayhawk Motorsports, $9,000, supplies and expenses. And then Military Affiliated Student Center, $20,704. And then that was approved by finance. And so they missed the original application this year. And why I wanted this to go first, we have the student organization where a similar thing happened. This year, because of just some different fluctuations within Student Senate and staffing and things like that, some block entities weren't reached out to with the frequency that they were accustomed. And so in between that, things got lost, and some people didn't fill out their applications and things like that for block on time. So we've worked really hard to try and accommodate those organizations and entities as best we can hereafter. And so, yeah.
Do we need more time?
No, I don't think
questions?
so.
Oh, negative speech? All right. Looks like we do have negative speech.
And then, you can come up if you want.
Oh, perfect.
But yeah. And then,
All right. Looks like we have a negative
so
speech.
then I'm gonna
We actually don't need speaking rights deferred anymore, thanks to an amendment. So, Nathan, you can actually just do this on your own here.
and then here's your thing, and then let me make sure it's share screened. So I'm like not really sure.
That one, yeah, and then yeah.
This one?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, you should be good.
Nathan, you'll have 2 minutes. Start whenever you're ready.
I'm good? Okay, awesome. All right, hi everyone. My name is Nathan Doe. I am the co-director of Alternative Breaks, but prior to my presentation, I just want to immensely apologize for submitting our block application this late in the semester. Our organization has faced several setbacks that have allowed our organization to just struggle in terms of turnover and the unannounced departure of our superior senior co-director. So it left our organization in a state of relearning and reorganizing. And I want to assure you that after this presentation that this will not be happening again and that we will be submitting our application in a timely manner. But yeah, so Alternative Breaks is a registered nonprofit ran by students that aim to provide a ethical service opportunity for students on campus. We send students to different nonprofits across the country during their academic breaks. So specifically winter and spring breaks. Historically, we have worked with 50 nonprofit organizations and served about 800 students. But with the pandemic, it has been very difficult, but we are aiming to get those numbers up again this year. So our team is composed of 8 people who have worked really hard to make sure our trips are successful. We have 2 coordinators for each break, and then we have an education coordinator, finance coordinator, and PR coordinator. And to break that down, we have kind of the hourly breakdown with co-directors working 20 hours a week. We meet one-on-one with the individual core members and biweekly with the advisor. Okay, yeah. So with the winter breaks, because of high COVID rates, we were unable to do the travel sites, but for spring breaks, we were pretty successful in
Do I have a motion? Okay, I see a motion from Wesley. How many? 4 minutes, and then a second from Stu. All right, is there anyone who objects to 4-minute time extension for our speaker? All right, seeing none, we will continue.
Awesome. Yeah. And so spring breaks, we were pretty successful with having a travel site go to One Colorado in Denver. They were able to lobby in the state capitol building in Colorado. And so it was super exciting. And so we do a lot of cool stuff in terms of ethical service on campus. And one thing I want to exaggerate is our educational component with our organization. We provide a course called UNIV 492 that is organized by the Center for Service Learning that is run by Kate Kemper, the advisor for AB, and that fulfills KU Core, I believe, 5.1. And so we definitely fulfill and contribute a lot to the organization and campus. And we also partner with several organizations, including the OMA, CCO, United Way, Douglas County, and CSL to educate students prior to their trip. But with the future of Alternative Breaks, we have several things we want to focus on, including expanding up to 6 travel sites, covering various issues, and partnering with organizations and departments to volunteer as a group. So that would be the Multicultural Scholars Program, TRIO, HEAL KU, and any other organization that would like to have a group of 7 go to a nonprofit during their breaks. We want to partner and work closely with CCO to offer weekend breaks again. We have done that historically in the past, but because of this year and its struggle, we haven't been able to do that, but we'd love to bring that back. And we will also continue the educational component, which is like an 8-week program that we do before our winter and spring breaks to ensure that our students are prepared in doing ethical service. And so our funding request is $26,884. So currently right now, the co-directors are paid $8.25 an hour and are salaried at $29. But we want to bump that up to $9. We work year long. So throughout the school year, we work about 29 hours a week for 42 weeks. But during the summer, which is the off season, we work about 20 hours a week for 10 weeks. And so combined, that'd be $25,000 for just the co-directors. We also want to have funds for supplies and expenses, which include promotional material, printing, and then our rent and utilities. And so that kind of wraps up my presentation, but I'm open to questions.
All right. Yeah, do we have any questions for Nathan? I guess my question here is, are we looking for a motion to amend the block funding to introduce this into it?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, so Nathan, if you want to go ahead and make that motion, and I assume Sadie, you'll be seconding it? All right. And so with that, yeah, any other questions for folks? Oh, yeah. Okay. Can we get the speak box? About a minute left on this discussion.
So this is coming from, okay, I was gonna mention this earlier for fee and things and then with block. So for fee right now, we're sitting at a 65-cent deficit from where we were last year. So we have 65 cents basically to get us back up to flat, which is still one of the preferred outcomes based off of our student survey. So this 26,884 is basically 65 cents of the of our multiplier. So if we were to fund this, then it would raise us back up to flat and things. And so we do have the space to fund this additional student organization. And so yeah, that's all I want to say. Just in case you're wondering about how that would work logistically.
All right. And it looks like Holly has a question back here, or a point of information. And Nathan says it seems we have no questions. You can also go ahead and step down if you'd like.
My other point of information is that EOF got reduced from $7 down to, I think it's $5.65. Was it?
$75.
$5.75, and I was planning to ask for that 65 cents towards EOF. So if we do this, then we would be increasing the student fee if people vote in favor of increasing EOF next. So I just wanted everybody to know that, like, I agree that alternative breaks should be funded. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but like, there's other places that also need an increase too that affect constituents here that are outnumbered by others. So
okay, so we might keep
also.
that for like a positive speech if we want to go into that.
Okay.
Hamad.
Okay, question for Sadie, and I guess this is Senate at large. This is the first time we're having a block request come through full Senate, and this might be setting up a very interesting precedent for future years where block applications might be coming through full and not when they're supposed to be due, which is February 1st. So would you guys say in the future late block applications be allowed in the full Senate space or student assembly space, considering that this is now going to be a precedent that's set?
So I think from my perspective, and in this case specifically, the circumstances of this year are very unique in that like everything that we have with our student staff assistants. So basically for people, for senators like at large and things like that, what happened here is that our student Senate staff assistant, our former student Senate staff assistant, whenever she was here, she would email personally a bunch of advisors and things like that. And that was work aside of her work that we weren't aware of. So whenever at first these block applications went out, this email was sent to a alt breaks email that wasn't utilized and isn't currently utilized. So it was sitting in their email. And so on the student Senate side, we couldn't have known that that was going to be something that it didn't work. But then because of everything, I believe the former student Senate staff assistant was on leave at the time. And so she also didn't send out those emails to advisors. So then alt breaks was never notified. Basically, is what happened. And so it's not to the fault of Student Senate, it's not to the fault of all breaks, but it's something that happened. And that is also hopefully a unique circumstance in that there was that period of time where we didn't have someone in that role because they were on leave. And also we were getting used to these new responsibilities and things like that were on like the treasurer's office and on finance. And so I personally think precedence in general in Student Senate doesn't really follow a lot because we do have such a high turnover in the space, given that we're all students. There's a lot, like at least a fourth of us are new every single year. But especially in this case, I'm not really worried about precedence and then setting one because the circumstances are so specific. And so yeah, that's my thought process. And then also I don't think precedence is a really good argument to materially harm and limit a student organization that has faithfully applied year after year. And this is like one era or 1 year where they didn't submit their application, and it's not even necessarily, it's not their fault, you know? And so I don't think that they should be punished or limited in any way because of that.
Naya?
And then I would just say, like, to go along with...
Or, you know what, actually, we will need a time extension before we continue the discussion. Although I'm wondering, do we want a time extension or do we want to get to our photo that we were going to get to at 7? Yeah.
Can
See
I
a motion from Ahmad? Okay. All right. Yeah. We can go ahead and allow the 2 questions. It was from Naya and Holly, correct? And Stu, you also have a question? Oh, second. Oh, second to Hamad's motion. All right. So we will have 2 questions, 2 answers, and then we will go ahead and move into a 5-minute recess. It's a lot on a motion, but anyone objecting to that sort of line? If not, I would just ask folks to keep it brief on questions and answers, and then we will move through. Right? Question from Naya.
So my question is directed to Nathan. So if you could just, I guess like if you could just give us the background or answer on like what would happen if like alternative breaks didn't receive this funding, and how that could potentially like harm and impact students for like this coming year and the work that y'all do with alternative breaks.
Yeah, so right now, the co-directors get paid 29 hours a week, and we're actually on the hunt right now to find a second co-director. We split the work between 2 people just because there's just a lot going on in terms of spring, winter, and eventually, if we get big enough, back to summer, which we've done historically. But it's a primary motive to pay the co-directors for their labor. They've been, especially in my year right now, it's been very, very frustrating working alone, and to not have the opportunity to get paid for the work is just frustrating, I think. It's really scary. And so I at least want to have some job security in that. And so, yeah.
All right. Thank you, Nathan. And then Holly's question.
I'm trying to think of how to phrase my question. Can it be a statement rather than a question, or no?
No, if you want to do a statement, then we'll keep it for our next speech.
Yeah.
Or in this case, it would be a positive speech because you would be opposing the amendment, if so.
I don't want to oppose people getting paid, though. I just think it's not fair that.
I mean, you don't have to, but we'll leave that as a speech. Other than that, with that, we're going to go ahead and move into our 5-minute recess to get this photo taken, and then move back into session at around 7:22. Yeah, if we can get folks online, if you'd like to be in the picture to turn on your cameras, we're going to go ahead and get that projected onto the screen back here.
I'm working on LinkedIn Learning already. I'm working on Oh, I have to do it for class.
Well, that would be if that would be a reason.
Yeah.
We're gonna need more cameras to turn on, because it's just 2 large people right now on the screen.
And go there.
Of somebody we know.
Oh.
You want to move in chair? No.
I guess we'll have 2 big people on the background. Hey,
There we go. 3, 4.
Okay.
5.
If like tall people could like kneel, so we can make. Yeah, if like taller people could kneel.
There we go.
If taller people could like kneel, and then we'll arrange like around that way. Because I just want to make sure we don't cover like our senators. And
Yeah, just don't cover them. There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, all the tall people, if y'all want to like kneel, and then we'll finish everyone in now. Hard for your
Wait, why are we getting some people in the room?
Okay, does anybody else want to be in the photo?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, dang, I did not hear you. We can do a chair on the side and have. Okay, so we need to be like in the frame of the screen, so like, Max, you're kind of tall, Hamad, you're tall. And then I would say everyone else just kind of like fill in. And then Alessia and I can like bring y'all on that. Should we just sit? Yeah, like everyone else, I think we can sit. Can I just like sit? Yeah, so like, Daphne can be there because she don't want to show her knee pain. So we'll let her do it. Okay, and then can everyone else, Riley, you want to come here? And then, or Stu, you want to come here? You're kind of on the top side. Okay, and then. Give me just a second, real quick. Yeah, let him do it.
Sorry.
We all look so cute. Oh, this one?
You can stand, there's no one there.
Well, that's the license.
No, like,
Are we all in it now? How about now?
Yes, but
All right.
we have
Okay, give us
nine.
our
But
1, 2, 3,
eight,
smile.
eight,
I'm gonna give you a 1,
8 and me.
2, 3, smile. Going.
And do you understand? We have such a
Smile again.
Do you want to be here right now?
Okay, Riley, if you can see it close.
Okay, exactly.
Let's show your looking for everyone who's the name.
Eyes
And then, we're gonna work with Lisa
Yeah,
and the union
it's
to
a
get this like
graduate
frame with like a border, and
So instead of like a
then
GRA.
during like turnover or before turnover, whoever wants to like sign their outside and like year,
Actually,
we'll do that, so then that's gonna go up right on.
But you can't have a
Is it good?
position.
Like, yeah, let me.
Like you can't be a GTA or
Thank God I could
GRA.
stand on the corner. You hear just nothing but.
Yeah, and to argue and to advocate for graduate students and to meet with the chancellor.
Yeah. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Yay! Good job, y'all. See, we can coordinate stuff. We can get it together.
Why are you back? No, stop doing
Wednesday, you have objectives up, you can send to Riley, and then I'll work with Riley to get them over to Lisa.
Yep, for sure.
Did Hypatia text you guys? Did Hypatia, I told her to, I was like, explain in Spanish.
Alright, what if they get back?
But then also,
He's still doesn't do it.
I don't know.
He is, and then he's like, gonna get.
I don't need a motion for that I'm doing.
Y'all been up
All right, if everyone could get back to their seats, we're going to go ahead and call this back into session. So as soon as folks quiet down, we will commence.
Quiet now. Quiet now.
All right, thank you. Now, next we have up potential next speeches. Holly, would you like to make a speech for the legislation? Okay. All right, you'll have 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And are there any other negative speeches on the floor in support of the amendment?
Do you mean negative or positive?
Negative in this case.
Oh, so is mine a positive speech?
Yours is a positive speech because you're supporting it as is.
That's not really what I'm doing though. Because I think alternative breaks should be funded, but I also think that this was done in a way to take the money that people knew I was going to argue for EOF for graduate students away from us. And so
Okay.
that once again,
With that, I think we'll just do a speech and then go
so
from there.
should I just say what I'm going to say?
Yeah, say what you're gonna say,
Okay.
and yeah, it's just that's how it's gonna be framed, at least in terms of like the speech category.
Yeah.
But yeah, go off with what you want to say.
Okay. It's been really hard to get graduate students to come here because of how this chamber works and how useless it is for graduate students. And then I bring them here and they're wasting time out of their night when their GTAs, their GRAs, their GAs, you know. Being a graduate student is not easy. Once again, this chamber has shown that you do not care about us and our opinion means nothing to you. And you have shown that EOF and funds that help graduate students on this campus mean nothing to you because you aren't one. Well, I hope in the future some of you become graduate students and you are treated the same way that you have treated us in this chamber. And I did not join the picture, and neither did the other graduate students, because we are so fed up of the way this chamber treats us. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Holly. Then yeah. I'm gonna assume no questions there. All right, and with that, do we have a motion to move forward with the legislation, and or table it, and or continue debate? On the amendment or the bill? Because the amendment hasn't been introduced. Like, I gave the motion scale, so yeah, Nathan, if you want to go ahead and introduce it. And then, oh, Hypatia, did you have something?
Yes, I have a question, but I don't know if it's, the right time to make it. You tell me.
A question concerning what?
The bill.
The
Or in
box.
general. I just want to know how much money is left.
Oh, how much money is left? Okay, yeah, I did see that in the conversation. People are bringing up how much money will be left if this goes yes. So it's not really a tally of money that's left. I mean, we have the 65 cents if we would like to maintain a flat fee, but ultimately at the end of the day, this chamber can decide whatever value they want to assign to a number. And so there's not really like as much of like a limit to it, really, as much as like the chamber itself limits it, if that makes sense. Did that answer your question, Hypatia?
Not really. So you're saying that if this passes and then we also decide to pass the EOF fund, everything will be okay.
Well, yeah.
Like, we're adding
So
this money.
if both were passed with an increase, then what we would essentially have is a fee increase up from last year. But if this passes and the other one is not passed, then it would be a flat fee. Either way, like the fee could pass, it's just how it will pass, like whether it's going to be a flat fee or whether it's going to be a raised fee.
So basically, we'll have to pay extra next year in student fees.
Potentially. Yeah, I mean, just depending on how everything adds up by the final votes tonight. All right, so,
Question.
yes, Jenny?
What if this doesn't pass and the EOF does pass? Would we have to have a fee increase then, or would it be flat?
It would be flat.
Okay. So that's another way to get a flat fee.
It depends on how much as well. If the EOF was increased only by 65 cents, it still wouldn't be increased its full $7. So that would still be a cut to EOF. So it just depends. So nothing that we do here tonight, or I mean, like in this vote, determines if it's flat or not, basically.
Okay.
This vote is untethered from everything related to the EOF fees and or value once we get into that discussion. What this vote sort of discusses is the value of the block bill, and then people will assess that value in relation to other fees that we look at tonight.
Okay.
Okay. All right, and with that, I'm going to recognize Nathan's motion to amend the legislation to include alt breaks funding. And Sadie, do I see a second from you? Perfect. Is there anyone in this chamber who opposes amending the legislation to allow for alt breaks to be added? Is there any opposition on the teams to adding alt breaks to the block funding?
And so the red one, it's like separate now. Yeah, the amendment was passed, and so honestly, it shouldn't even be
I
red.
mean, should we vote on it, or if there's no objection?
Yeah.
If there's no objection, I mean.
Yeah. A separate. Yeah. No. Yeah. Thank goodness.
All right. Since I am currently hearing no objection to the amendment to allow alt breaks to be added to the block bill, we're going to go ahead and move towards a vote on the amendment. And then we will go ahead and move towards a vote on the legislation if that amendment is approved. All right, everyone. So now we are going to go ahead and look at this amendment here. So the poll is going to be released as, do you approve the amendment to add alt breaks to block funding? Yes, if you'd like to approve the amendment and get it onto the bill. No, if you would like to keep it off of the current legislation. And abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. And I'll let that run for about 2 minutes. Reminder that our quorum number is still 30. All right, we're currently at 23 votes. We need 7 more to continue on. As it stands right now, this will only require a simple majority to amend the bill, but it will still require a 2/3 majority to pass the bill amendment. So, just for everyone's knowledge.
I'm frustrated.
I didn't get
I'm frustrated.
I've been that.
Yeah.
And
I mean, we're not vote at the end of the day, like, I mean,
I got as many grads as I could to be. I tried my best.
We're missing 2 more votes to reach quorum, just 2 more votes.
Yeah, you have speaking rights. That's what it happened. So what were you thinking when you said drinks? What were you thinking? Like after the
just
the
when
night of the 4th?
I would say, yeah, I'm gonna do it like when we're not at. I mean, like,
But some people, I mean,
but I mean, like, I'm gonna do it. Once it's not all of this happens. So I mean, things will come out.
So that's why.
Exactly.
I literally was drinking with them.
Is everyone on staff? 20 years. I don't argue.
Currently looking for 2 more votes to reach quorum.
Everyone else, though, I think is legal, so we can get a drink.
Now looking for 1 more vote to reach quorum.
I vote no.
Okay, okay.
Anything that you said?
Can you check all the voted? Can you ask them if you voted? We need to make sure Tasmin votes the same way we need.
Who's her?
She's a graduate student. She's online, but I don't know if she's online.
All right, I've seen a few changes in vote, but has everyone voted who has the ability to do so? All right, seeing no objections, I will move to close the poll. And with a vote of 18 in the affirmative, 10 in the negative, and 3 abstentions, this motion to amend the legislation clearly passes.
Vote to call to question.
Vote to call to question. All right, I see a motion to call to question on Holly. Do I see a second? I see a second from Julia. All right, and with that, do we have any objections to calling to question on the legislation? All right, seeing no objections, we will now move towards a final vote.
Yeah, it passed. But then.
All right, so the poll has now been posted. Do you approve the block funding bill, student work fee? Yes, if you would like to approve the block funding bill as it stands with amendments. No, if you would not like to approve this bill, and abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. I will let this run for about 2 minutes, and a reminder, it does require a 2/3 majority. We are currently looking for 5 more votes to reach quorum. All right, we're currently looking for 1 more vote.
¿Qué corriste? Cuando le toca a alguien.
Oh.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
All right, as it stands, it looks like we have met quorum. Is there anyone who has the ability to vote on this matter that has not yet done so? All right, seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the vote. And with a vote of 20 in the affirmative, 7 in the negative, and 3 abstentions, this student fee clearly passes. And with that, we will go ahead and move into the next item on our agenda, which is the Educational Opportunity Fund fee.
Sadie, should I bring up the PowerPoint now? Yeah, PowerPoint.
Hamad, or where am I looking? Who's making a motion? I see a motion from Trey. Could I get a mic to Trey?
Ready?
Yeah, one of those catch boxes, please.
Okay.
Oh, never mind then. Okay.
There we go.
Okay, and then it's just. Yeah. Do you know which 5 it was? Because I think I misunderstood.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
Because where's the money?
Here, I can pull up the agenda.
So it's
Your handwriting's so nice. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I just took a minute. I appreciate it. Of course.
Yeah, so health, rec, transportation, UDK,
And UF.
and UF.
Okay, the UF,
Yeah, because UF did.
health, rec, transport, UK. Okay.
Seems good. And then lack of anything page in this, like.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
All right, and 2 minutes to present UF. Cool.
All of them or just UF?
Just UF.
Just UF?
Mhm.
Okay, sounds good. Okay.
Right.
So up first is the Educational Opportunity Fund. And so in fiscal year 2022, it was set at $7. In fiscal year 2023, the most recent finance recommendation is $5.75. The proviso on the floor was to include administrative oversight duties to the Student Senate Coordinator. The Student Senate Coordinator used to be the Student Administrative Assistant, Student Senate Administrative Assistant, whatever. It was basically the full-time individual that we had in the Student Senate office. And so that position has since been moved to be under the oversight of the Student Involvement and Leadership Center. That's who is also like paying for their salary now, so it's not directly affiliated to Student Senate. And so the hope of the Finance Committee with this proviso is basically to have that full-time staff member oversee the operations of the Educational Opportunity Fund, so that way it's less dependent upon students every single year, and it's more so like ironed out into what exactly happens. So that way there's like more support for the people who chair the Educational Opportunity Fund, and there's just more continuity after we hire that position. And so this $5.75 was raised from $3.50 that was rejected by the full Senate and moved back to finance, and is $3 and is $1.25 less than $7. And so yeah. I think that's all I have to say about education.
I have a negative speech.
All right, a negative speech from Holly. Any questions on the floor, though? All right, Naya, do you have a question?
So I just was gonna ask,
Microphone, please.
Sorry, my bad. So I just was gonna ask, because I know obviously this was discussed in finance and y'all did kind of like that little stipulation. So is there still room to like possibly add like another stipulation? Or would it have to just be kind of like, I guess it has to be like an official motion, or just, do I have to do it like in a positive or negative speech?
It would typically be a negative speech.
Okay, cool. Okay.
All right, Hamad.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Oh, will you pass the microphone back to Hamad?
Sorry. I would say that should be.
Just quick questions for the EOF Fund Board. Were you guys able to meet and create the rules?
I literally would love to answer your question. As the only graduate student on the EOF board, I did wake up at 10 a.m. on Saturday to join Zoom with Julia and Daphne, and we were the only students that showed up. So no, we couldn't make rules because nobody else showed up. And as the only graduate students showed up, just saying.
I just have a point of information in that before we met, and yeah, like we didn't meet quorum, so rules were not technically voted on, but I did send out a Google form where members of the book committee submitted rules, and so there is a document that I emailed to Humberto earlier today with the amended rules with stipulations that have the like organizations that are being allocated the funds held accountable. So they have not been voted on for the board, but the like new rules were drafted and do exist.
All right. Are those new rules in the Students' Assembly channel, Humberto?
No, but I can.
Oh, yeah. Would it be helpful for the body to see these rules and regulations that have been created?
Yeah, I can go through them if you would like.
Okay. I'll just let that stand as like a point of information on it, and so I'll just give you like a 2-minute time period to sort of like present those rules if you'd like. And then Holly, could we get to your negative speech after that? Yeah? No? Yes? Perfect.
I'm just thriving, as you can tell.
And Naya?
I have a question.
Okay.
So I guess like with bringing up like the rules that like were proposed, even though they weren't voted on by the EOF board, does like the Students' Assembly have the right to vote and pass those stipulations to apply it, or no?
No, so these stipulations would still very much have to be passed by the Rights Council. But these are stipulations that at least like the Students' Assembly can see, since the Assembly requested that these regulations be generated as part of the stipulations. And so if the Students' Assembly can see like a good faith effort at generating these regulations, then they can be placed in the future. But I think really it's just making sure people see them.
Okay. Can I be in line for,
Well, it has just got to be positive spin, isn't it?
Okay. If anybody would like to do a positive speech so that I can do a negative speech, just simply to like suggest a stipulation to this, I would appreciate
I see
it.
a positive speech from Hamad, and then we'll have a negative speech from Naya.
Okay.
All right.
Can I go?
Yeah. All right. Are we good, everyone? Perfect. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Go ahead.
this will be fairly quick because honestly we didn't change a lot about like the rules of the actual committee. So the document just goes through the committee structure. These are all of the members that are required to serve on the board with like stipulations. It designates who's voting and not voting clearly. These are all the eligibility requirements. You're going to see text show up in red. Red is what was changed, added. Some of it is verbiage that was just changed because titles were changed within the office, and others were the rules that were submitted through the Google Doc. So applicant ineligibility, all of this didn't change. The considerations is where it started to change. So the original thing was past use of allocated funds. Each group that has received past funding shall submit summaries of group expenditures, but this hasn't been happening because the board hasn't been like, there wasn't a specific structure to doing this. There was no way to hold them accountable. So we expanded on this. So completed summaries should be submitted by campus entities by the same time that applications are due. So it's going to be added to the like application form. It'll be like a little window, whatever. Summaries should be itemized documentation that include the following specifications. There were already specifications, so we added the amount of need-based grants, scholarships, salaries, or other ineligible funding use that were awarded, and then the amount of each award specifically so that we know, because later on there is a scholarship that is covered by EOF that is capped at $750, I think. And so the like rule that was suggested didn't give a specific amount on how much awards, so I couldn't really like use my own discretion to do that. And then you keep going through. The only thing that changed, I think, within these is that the survey that's created by the EOF board to see like how the funds were allocated, used, how they benefited the organizations, they have to be submitted by the end of the spring semester, so like stop day. This is just a title change, and then this is kind of where most of it happened in the actual like committee function, because there literally were not hardly any rules that were good, effective, or whatever, and so this is where most of the recommendations came from. So it says that all student committee member appointments must be appointed and confirmed by December 1st of the calendar year. The Educational Opportunity Fund application should open no later than October 1st.
Do you have a time extension? Okay, I see 3 minutes from Ahmad, and then I see a second from Stu. All right, anyone objecting to a 3-minute time extension?
Good.
Seeing none, we will continue.
Okay, so the Educational Opportunity Fund application should open no later than October 1st and close no later than the last day of the fall semester to ensure all eligible entities have an adequate opportunity to apply, because we found this year that a lot of people missed the deadline, and so then I had to say yes to some and no to others, and that didn't really feel fair. Prior to the opening of the application, the EOF Fund Board Chair should announce the application opening date to all eligible campus entities. This notice should include a copy of the EOF rules outlining eligibility and funding disbursement requirements, because again, a lot of people don't know what it is, and when they do know what it is, they're not applying the right way, they're not using it correctly. So by notifying all people who are eligible and giving them the rules, we're hoping to avoid that. This notice should also include a timeline indicating the dates the application will open and close, as well as the dates the EOF Fund Board will meet. So once the application is closed, any late submissions must be approved or denied by the committee chair, which is the Director of Social Justice. The Director of Social Justice must schedule a minimum of 2 committee meetings during the academic year. At least 1 meeting should be held during the fall semester and the other during the spring semester. All meetings should be scheduled in advance so that all committee members have a minimum of 2 weeks' notice, because that was also something that we ran into where people didn't know about the meetings and then we weren't making quorum, and that's how things didn't get voted on. All applications should be submitted by the end of the fall semester to ensure the committee has adequate time to review and discuss before voting occurs. And then should the committee choose to make any changes to the rules of EOF, they must be made prior to voting on the finalized fee package to hopefully avoid what is happening right now. That is it.
Thank you very much for that, Daphne. And unless there are any questions on the point of information, you can go ahead and sit down.
Do you have a question, Naya?
So, I just wanted to clarify, like, just for like the sake of this. So moving forward, previously, like the SVP like served as chair of this, but it changed this year to be the social justice director. So moving forward, that's who it's going to continue to be unless changed otherwise.
Yes, it is at the top.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that that was also in place.
Here, I guess I didn't highlight it in red, but it does say that the director of social justice is the chair.
All right, brilliant. With that, we'll go ahead and move on to Holly's negative speech. Thank you very much, Daphne. All right. And Holly, you will have 2 minutes. However long it takes.
Thank you. Okay.
All right. If we could have order in the chamber here. And you will have 2 minutes.
Okay, my negative speech is that I believe this fee should be increased because if we're going to give money to a student group that, whether it was their fault or not, applied late, then we should make sure that graduate students on our campus that are wildly underrepresented in here, and also minority students that get funding through the EOF, get it. So I don't really know how much harder I can try and like make people understand that graduate students are students too. And the reason, you know, for example, the executive board, there's 11 of us on it. All of their pay is paid through student fees, and one of us is a graduate student. So we are over giving our money towards you undergrads, and you're showing time and time again that you literally don't care about us. So I implore you to care about us, and I'm going to make a motion to increase this to the $7. And Hamad is going to second it because he's a king. That's all I have to say.
Holly?
I also
Second.
second it.
Oh, yeah, a question or a second from Jenny. All right, so yeah. Also made me realize you can't second. Come on. All right. And so I will just do Holly's motion, then Jenny as second. Is there anyone who objects to? Oh, Habatya is raising. Yeah, Habatya?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were told that rules were not followed and that's what it was affecting the decrease, but proofs were not presented. And as of right now, I don't see any proof, like you guys haven't told us names, you guys haven't said what happened, which students received more money that they shouldn't. Like it's all based on, like rules were not followed, but proofs haven't been presented, and this is very serious. I don't understand. I don't think you guys understand that this is an equity fund. We as a minority students, we don't have the privilege to lose cents. We do need this money. So I'm asking for proof. I want to know more information. It's not fair just to come and do this and do not present anything.
I guess.
So I do want more information about it.
Like information about the hearings themselves, or?
Well, yes. What departments are not moving this money correctly? The names of the students that are receiving or taking advantage of this fund?
What Hipatia, I think, is asking is, like, the argument has been made consistently that certain entities were not using the funds correctly, but no proof has been shown to the Senate, yet you're all voting based on an assumption one person made and some other people said was true, which that makes zero sense. That's what Hipatia's saying.
So it's a point of information to request the funding that is being distributed.
If someone's going to use that argument to show us proof.
Okay. I'm just going to take it as a point of information request since it was presented. Do we have any information related to the numbers on the EOF fund? Daphne?
I don't have the specific PowerPoint that tells you like the breakdown of whatever. I think Casey has it. Maybe Sarah Bowman does. It's what we were looking at during, like, that tells you last year's allocations. But like, that is why that rule was added into now, because there is no accountability measure in the existing, like, EOF rules, and so we're giving all these entities money, and that's where finance has this concern in that, like, we don't know where the money is going once it's theirs, and so we're giving it to them with the expectation that, yeah, they're going to follow the rules, they're going to use it this way, but they're not proving to us that they're doing that, and so, like, there is leftover money from, like, the funds, which is why that's now in the rules that they have to, like, prove to us, like, this is why that was left over, this is what we're going to do with it and stuff. So, like, I don't have the specific numbers, but that is where the concern is coming from, is that it's in the rules, but there's no measure of accountability, which is why we have made the changes that we have in the upcoming cycle.
Okay, and Naya, did you have something real quick? Otherwise, yeah, we're currently out of time, so we're probably looking to move on to the next speech here, just to save that. I will request for our financial folks in the room, if anyone could get those numbers before we come to a final vote, that would be great. Oh, would you like the motion to be made, like, right now? Like, in regards, okay. Yeah, it's been properly moved and seconded, so we can move towards a vote on the motion. Is there anyone in this room that objects to increasing the fee to $7? That was yep, I see Camden objects, all right. And so we will go ahead and move towards a vote on increasing the EOF fee to $7. Am I on here? All right, so I'll be putting this vote here to the floor. Do you approve the amendment which sets the EOF fee to $7? Yes, if you would like to approve this amendment. No, if you would not like to approve this amendment. And abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. A reminder that this does require a simple majority to approve and amend the bill, but it will require a 2/3 majority to pass the bill. And I'll let that run for a few minutes.
When they showed up, when they asked that.
What does this mean?
So this needs a simple majority, but the final vote on the EOF fee will need the 2/3. Currently looking for 10 more votes, 9 more votes. We are now looking for 2 more votes. 1 more vote.
What's quorum?
You're at 30 now.
How many do we need?
30. Yeah, okay, so we just made it. All right. And with that, is there anyone else who needs to vote on this matter? Okay, I'm still seeing stuff roll, or was that just a change? Okay, I'll give 30 more seconds, and then we are going to close the vote. Okay.
Alessia, I have a question.
Yeah?
This is going to be one of the worst things I've ever done, but I'm thinking back a minute. So I'm not- If all of the graduate students do not vote, we won't have quorum and it will go to $7. Is that correct?
That is correct.
But
Okay.
I just wanted to know that, like, it's, like, you have it, you pass.
Yeah, but it's not going to pass by 2/3.
Oh.
So why don't we just let it revert back to the $7 and we won't pass any more legislation tonight? And that will be packaged. Yeah, well, what would affect graduate students is.
Can I give a point of information
here.
about the EOF fund really quickly?
Yeah.
Okay, so this isn't EOF specific, but I think it's important to know since we're voting and having this discussion, in that Kansas, like the state of Kansas at the education, the Kansas Commissioner, whatever you want to call them, like as a state, we don't recognize diversity as a core element. It's not a core pillar, and so the like EOF fund. Not that I'm saying that I want it to be cut, and not like I'm not saying that, but I think it is important to notice that this is not a like KU Senate chamber specific issue. It is across the state, in that it's not a pillar that's recognized. It's not something that we're throwing money at, and so we get kids to college that are minority statuses, but we can't keep them here, and so that's why there's so much issue with the funding, because like we throw all this money at schools and we're giving it out, but people aren't using it because after the first year, statistically, students aren't staying on campus, and so like while that's not true for our population, obviously like we're all here and graduate students are here, it is a larger trend that's important to understand, in that like it's not a personal attack. This is like a bigger issue that like we cannot effectively restructure by like getting upset and handling it this way, because like it is a bigger state trend, because it is not like nationally recognized or statewide.
I love that argument, but all of the graduate students, we're in agreement that we will leave this meeting and let it revert back unless you give us the $7. So think about it.
Can I go ahead and close this vote before
Yeah.
we continue this back and forth here? All right. And I'm going to move to close the vote here. All right. And with a vote of 14 in the affirmative, 16 in the negative, and 1 abstention, this motion clearly fails.
Okay, well, graduate students, we're leaving, so have fun passing legislation that you can't pass without us. Yeah. Gordon, Hypatia, Tasmin, Jenny, you can leave. You don't need to vote anymore. Really sorry it has to come to this.
I expected better. This is my first day as a senator. Thanks.
And the fact that all 9 graduate students here agreed to do this shows you that we're unified.
All right. Wishing a great evening to our graduate senators there. Yeah. Well, it would have to be called by either Studex, the president, or a quarter of members of this body. We could motion for a vote on this fee, but as it stands right now, we probably do not have the numbers to pass it. What do you mean suspend the rules?
Oh, so if you say suspend the rules, does that mean that graduate students in the University of Kansas don't matter? I think that might mean that.
You leaving means that this body doesn't matter. You're killing all our legislation.
Because no one listens to us. How many times have I had to get worked up in this body?
Listened to you.
No.
Yes, we have.
Well,
It
we're
was
leaving.
originally reduced to 350. We brought it back to 575.
We're out of session.
I mean, I need to have this argument because we left, so we've shown how we feel. Have fun. EOS going to say $7. We're happy.
So as it stands right now, in regards to that action, the fees that would remain at their fiscal year 2022 allocations would be the Educational Opportunity Fund, the student health fee, the student recreation services fee, the transportation services fee, and the UDK fee. And so, as of right now, does anyone want to seek a recess?
Yeah, can we do like 5 minutes?
We can do a 5-minute recess. I'll come back at 8:15, but then I will look for an attendance vote to see where we're at regarding quorum. So yeah, we are in recess. Do I see a second to that? All right, see a second from Austin. Perfect. All right, and with that, any objections?
Everybody, look, we're gonna take a walk.
Seeing none, we're going to be in recess for 5 minutes. Please return at 8:15 p.m.
Now it's
I want to make sure I'm not
Yeah, this issue is my passion for it didn't pass
It was the last time, so yeah.
And now it's obviously.
So if they leave, we can't do anything.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. If you don't get formed, the board is form letter that has you modified.
I'm not.
I'll talk to you. Thanks.
I'm all for it. But hopefully we have to get an opportunity to actually play and beat that expectation and also make sure we're doing all strong our funding person. And so like, we can say that like, like maybe one time during the year and it being like or even like, that doesn't work for anybody and having really well, I think it was in a chair, yeah. I didn't even, I didn't think I had to make this discussion. I didn't think I could do it. I thought that I would be fine with it. Yeah. So I thought I think I was like, calm.
Set aside. I believe that was, I think that was part of the incident that I remember, or was that gonna happen?
So the thing is you signed the bill for changing.
I've got an idea.
I didn't sign on the day.
Sorry,
It's been back in the day, so-
Okay.
So the thing is that is if.
Sorry.
Here, for the. I need to understand things first, y'all are rolling up on me. So. Are you guys gonna call them?
Well, student X and remove all of the graduate senators because they just violated the student code and senatorial code of conduct by doing that.
Okay, I can't do that right now. Like, I need to sit down and see.
what I was gonna say is that bill, it basically made sure all of these have to pass at once. Yeah. Which means that we would do this, which would have been fine if all passes, and some parts that didn't. We can't pass some parts and fail others based off that bill. And so basically the whole bill would be set at highway from sale, which is what it was this year. It would be this year's.
It would be the exact same.
Which means SGW has,
It's gonna stay.
it's gonna stay where it was, which means that they don't have funding anymore. OMA is gonna get their increase. EQT isn't gonna get their increase. Yeah, okay. It's good for transportation.
But not for the rec.
But, yeah.
Not at the moment.
So that's the thing, it's like all those entities now aren't gonna get funded.
Can you,
Yeah. Which is why I was like,
I mean, I'm not. I mean, you can open.
that bill was passed before voted, anything you voted on, like in terms of order.
We are.
So it was passed, and then the others were passed.
All right, everyone, we're coming back from the recess, so if I could have everyone take their seats. Be reopening the meeting online for myself here.
Sorry, I don't
All right, let's see, replied here. The last code was revised in 2018. Cool. I join this meeting. Could I have everyone return to their seats, please? All right. The next item on our agenda I have is a positive speech from Ahmad, but I believe Holly also has another statement here to make. Let's see. What were you saying, Naya?
I just was gonna say, Hamad's in the exec office, so I guess I can get him.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah, Holly has a suggestion before we move on, but yeah, then we'll go in.
Box, the people online cannot hear.
Oh. Is it muted?
No, we just can't hear the people who are speaking in the audience now.
Oh,
Can you
yeah,
hear now?
with house
Can you
votes.
hear me?
There wasn't
Yep, we can hear
anyone in the audience currently.
Thank you, Faith. Sorry about that. Okay. And now we've had our dramatics of the evening. I have a suggestion because obviously the fee is important and there are other areas in the fee that should be passed, and reverting back to last year would be not good for a bunch of fee entities, but maybe our little explosion maybe showed you how important this is to us. We are willing to remain. We would withhold our votes and not vote on the full fee package unless EOF gets increased to $7. And if you want us to do that, I will get the graduate senators to come back. And if you don't, then we can revert back. And I guess that's everybody in here's decision.
All right, Stu?
I have a question.
Yeah,
Oh, Stu, you might want the
the
boxes.
catch box.
I've got it.
So because it requires 2/3 to pass, am I correct on that?
Yes.
If you withhold your votes, then we would have to get anything passed tonight. We would have to raise this to $7. Is that
That's
is that what you're
literally
saying?
what, yeah, that is exactly what I'm saying.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you,
All
Stu.
right, Naya?
I'm just wondering, like, can we do the speech order? Because I had something in line, and I have also like a suggestion that I think might be.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can. I mean, this is obviously like unfounded in terms of like happening
Do you
in
want
the
to come
midst
up
of a
here,
meeting.
Naya?
Well, no, Hamad's next on the positive speech.
Oh.
So if you're done with your statement, Holly, we're going to move on to Hamad and then to Naya's negative speech. All right, so Hamad, you will have 2 minutes for your positive speech, but I do not know how much you will need.
This is my positive speech. I end my positive speech here and hand it off to Naya.
Any questions for Hamad? Seeing none, we'll move on to Naya. We're 2 minutes.
Okay, awesome. So, my negative speech was originally just to have the stipulations in there that like EOF meets more than like once a year before, like right before fee, because I think regarding all of these different funds and now with like the grad fund also being in there, having to figure out like how that money is going to work is really important. I guess like my suggestion would, I guess just how I am seeing it kind of from both sides, is obviously like there have been certain EOF funds that possibly have like mismanaged funds in the past, and obviously we want to make sure like it's going to be equitable for all funds across the board and that all the funds are following the directions. But I also think that we should give the funds like the grace and opportunity to like adhere to the like now new rules that we're putting in place before we just cut their money down, so that next year when these new rules are in place and EOF is doing a little bit more like, I guess, like auditing for the funds and actually making sure that it's going towards like the student grants and like the stuff that they're saying it's going towards, and like not going over like the set amount of, you know, scholarship amounts for students. Like then if that's happening now with the rules like newly in place and now students in it making sure they're being accountable and doing that kind of like auditing system or accountability system more, then look to see if that's not happening, then maybe look at the funds possibly going down if that can't be corrected. So I guess just overall, I think we should just not punish the groups before we give them the opportunity to like adhere to like the new rules that we're saying we're going to set in place for them.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Naya. Daphne, you had a question? Or a POI?
About the rules, they are not all new. They did exist. We just amended them. So like the rules have been applied. They just weren't being adhered to. But
students said it wasn't doing their job to make sure that was happening, is what I'm saying.
yeah, and so like no one was enforcing, no one was abiding. So we just expanded on the existing rules. Nothing is actually new. It's just reworded so that it explicitly states what we want and how we're going to do it.
Cool.
So before the students are punished.
Yeah. And Max, you can just use the microphone next to you or this one.
I wanted to catch it. Okay, I have a point of information that is not related to the fee at hand. It's related to the Student Senate Code of Ethics, which is grounds for removal if you violate it. I'm going to read you some of the subpoints, and if you can honestly tell me that you're not violating these, actually, I'm just going to rephrase it. You are violating these. First one. I'm giving a point of information. I'm reading the Student Code of Ethics.
It's not a point of information on the topic at hand.
This is on the topic at hand. This is a question of ethics. They are extorting us.
Yeah, but you can't even go through an ethics investigation without it passing StudEx and the Chief of Staff.
But I can read the Code of Ethics to the student body. I think it's in the interest of the Senate to hear these ethical questions. Okay, fine. Here. It's clear what side you're on.
It's clear what side I'm on. I mean,
I can't read the ethical code. Like, is that ethical? I think that's another question.
I mean, it's just randomly reading the code.
This is violating the core tenets of democracy.
So
Naya?
I guess would Max need to make a motion to read the code, or like am I supposed to be answering questions from people after my speech?
Quite honestly, if Max wanted to, Max could do a positive speech and just read the code if they wanted to. Would you like to?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I want you to be heard, but obviously I need to make sure it's going through the right.
All right. So if there are no more questions for Naya, we will now move on to our next positive speech from Max. Max, you'll have 2 minutes if you'd like to go up to the podium. Or from here.
Student Senate members will faithfully and honestly represent their constituency and the student body. That's subpoint A. Subpoint B. I'm reading the full code. Student Senate members represent a diverse and multicultural body of students and shall always be mindful and respectful of all cultures and identities when legislating on behalf of students. Subpoint C. Student Senate members will present all legislation with complete and accurate information. Here's an interesting one. Subpoint D. Student Senate members will consistently and regularly vote on all matters before the Senate. Each member has only one vote. Subpoint E, Student Senate members will receive all bills with fair and rigorous discussion. Subpoint F, Student Senate members will actively participate in Senate meetings and shall contribute to the conditions necessary for healthy and productive conversation, as well as promote collaboration among other members to create consensus on matters pertaining to the charges of each standing council. Subpoint G, Student Senate members shall be expected to abide by the Code of Student Rights and Responsibilities. Subpoint H, Student Senate members shall practice mutual respect for all fellow members of Student Senate and shall maintain decorum in all meetings where they represent the KU Student Senate. Subpoint I, Student Senate members shall not knowingly use their position to solicit any monetary or non-monetary gift or normally unattainable advantage from any individual.
All right, thank you for that, Max. We have 30 seconds left for questions, if there are any. And I think I see a few here in the chat. Although I think some of them might be rhetorical. Do you hear what you're saying? Do you hear what you're saying? Represent all students, what about that? So yeah.
Are you asking me to represent all
I mean, really, I don't know if those are actual.
We have graduate students that are speaking on their behalf. That is great, and that is a part of democracy,
Okay.
and that's a conversation we should have. What we should not do is we shouldn't walk out.
All right, we are out of time. Yes, Naya?
Can I do a point of information?
About what?
And just say, like, if the rest of this stuff does not get passed tonight, it stays flat, and that is going to potentially, like, be terrible for this next year. And it's going to potentially do the same thing that happened this year where we had to deliberate for, like, 8 hours because KBOR rejected the fee, and the process, like, was not followed well. Can we... I understand, but... like, this has to get done tonight, y'all. Like, if we're saying we're going to be equitable to all students, like, we have to get through this.
Us or the graduate students?
I'm saying everybody.
Point of information. All right. With that, have we come to a motion to vote on anything? Are we looking for an amendment? I mean, where do we stand? I mean, yes, Naya? Okay, so as it stands, there are a few options on the table. We can either amend the legislation, table the legislation, and/or pass it as is. And so, as of right now, I would just be seeking a motion.
That are asking questions. Sorry,
Are there
I mean,
questions?
but there are people who have been having hands up on the teams.
Oh, hands up here? Let's see here. Okay,
Yeah,
so
they've had Wesley their hand up for a while.
So Wesley and Jenny. Wesley, did you have a question or a speech?
A question for quite a bit ago, and it was during Holly's statement.
I have a speech if possible.
Oh, a speech? So it would be a negative speech against like
Yeah.
the bill? Okay. Wesley, okay, so the reason that wasn't answered earlier is Holly's statement from earlier wasn't really like a speech as it much was just like a negotiating point.
Well, I guess I could ask it to, since we're a little bit past most of those speeches where it was directed to, if I could ask it to the Senate as a whole, because it's just it's a question about if a course of action would be acceptable.
Like what course of action?
If the EOFE was put at the bottom of the agenda, so the other things could get passed, and then if quorum is busted at the end, then would only the EOFE roll over back to last year's amount?
That would be correct. So if the EOFE was placed at the bottom of the agenda, then you could potentially make it to where it would roll back to the flat amount without approval.
So because the code is in very much dire need of updating, I would like to motion to put the EOFE at the very bottom.
There was a motion on the floor.
For what was the motion on the floor?
I mean,
You had a motion?
yeah, but.
Okay.
So
I mean, that one hasn't been seconded yet, so. I haven't
Do I need
heard
to
a
say the
second
motion?
from either,
But
so.
I'm saying, do I need to say the motion to see it?
What is your motion?
So my motion would be to put EOF at $6.40 in the middle of what's being proposed now with the $5 and then the original like 7 whatever. To raise it just a little bit more than what it is now, which I think is what like people are saying is inequitable at the moment, but then also give Student Senate the opportunity to work with like the funds this next year to make sure that they are like strictly following the rules that we want them to follow. And then for next year, if the EOF members find that not to be happening, then Student Senate can make the move when it comes to fees to potentially defund if those rules are continuing not to be followed.
So your
Like-
motion specifically for 640
Yes.
to be the new number?
Yeah.
And was that a stipulation you wanted added as well?
Yes.
Or, okay. If you can get that in written format so that it could actually be voted on. I guess like the other motion there was also like just moving it to the bottom of the agenda. And Holly? Or
Yes.
Question for Naya from Holly. So Wesley, with Naya's motion in mind, do you still want to put a motion to the floor?
I'll wait to see how this plays out first.
Okay.
My question for my question for Naya is, what would that put the full fee at? Oh,
I have my little spreadsheet. It would put the full fee at $492.60, and that is a 65-cent increase, and we still have fees on the floor. So if that was if flat was what was attainable, then there's other places.
graduate students, if you can hear me, I would be amenable to that because I wanted us to get that extra 65 cents that was left that went to alternative breaks, which I understand alternative breaks deserved it too. I would be amenable to Naya's suggestion.
All right. So, yeah. I'm still looking for a second to Naya. I mean, Sadie, you're right there. So were you seconding this motion or? Okay. All right. And do we have anyone who's in opposition to raising the EOF fee to $6.40? And moving towards that vote. All right. Seeing none, we're going to do a final vote on the amendment and then hopefully on the legislation itself.
Are we gonna reach quorum on this, or are they still? Well, because congratulations are gone. What is that?
Students want senators.
But you just called a bunch of other graduate students to leave.
Yeah, and they rejoined. Because I asked them to. Yeah. Yeah, they have rejoined.
I'm a grad, I'm here, we're back.
All right, so the motion on the floor is going to be, do you approve amending the EOF fee to $6.40? Yes, if you would like to approve. No, if you would not like to approve. And abstain if you want to stay out of the discussion. Reminder, this requires a simple majority vote. And then once we get to the actual fee, a 2/3.
Don't forget to be back on the team. On the teams, come back.
All right, we are currently looking for 5 more votes. 2 more votes.
Where all the other ones and how that might make it close to. And then also that built that we couldn't get more because the ones that we changed, they were transportation, the other big ones were ready. The way that it was, together with the other cables, we just held the FY32 level. Which means that SUV would not have gotten their increase, they got increased by over 1,000. Like, no, right, like, cables failed it, which either means we would have like 3 gallons or something, but realistically, if the cable failed it, yeah. No, like, so like, if that would have been, then we have been off our balance, and it would have been positive, like, $34, the cable would not have passed, and it would have been failed, and I would be, they're not messing it. I don't know. Which means that all the prices, we like, it was in a straight up violation. Like, so SG, no increase, yeah, all made, no increase. All my
All right, with that, currently we are at 30 for quorum. Is there anyone who has the ability to vote on this that has not yet done so? All right. Okay, I see one more rolled in. I'll give 10 more seconds for people to finalize their votes. All right. With that, I'm going to move to close the vote if there are no objections. And with a vote of 19 in the affirmative to 11 in the negative to 1 abstention, this motion clearly passes and the EOF fee is amended. Now, do I see a motion to move to final question on the EOF fee? Sadie? Move to final question on EOF?
Oh, I'll move.
Yeah, move. All right, do I see a second? Oh, did Cynthia just second on chat? Yep. All right, so it's been properly moved and seconded. Do we have anyone who's in opposition to moving towards a vote on the EOF fee at $6.40? Someone has their hand up. On the teams? Jenny?
Hello?
Yes. Jenny did have a neg speech on the floor, but we have had a motion to close the debate.
Yeah, has the $6.40 been passed, or is it just on the?
$6.40 is passed.
Okay, wonderful. I just want to say it's frustrating to hear diverse students shouldn't be supported because KU doesn't have diversity as a core value. That just did not make sense. We need to be better here and do better for diverse students. That's just all I want to say.
All right, thanks, Jenny. And I believe Daphne is coming to also correct that comment.
Okay, so in saying that, I did not mean that, like, KU doesn't support diversity. It does, but that's just, like, the fundamental institutional issue in the state of Kansas and our institution as to why this keeps happening, because it is a bigger issue than just EOF. But also, increasing the fee back up to $7 isn't necessarily necessary, so the $6.40 should be sufficient because we have not been enforcing the rules properly, and so as I said in the changes of the rules, the funds aren't going to the plays that they're supposed to, and so while they're not supposed to be using them for like administrative purposes, unfortunately applicants that are getting funds are. And so if you rule that, like account for those funds and apply the rules that we are now going to be using to moderate EOF, there's not going to be a deficit. Technically, no one is going to be taking the hit once EOF is being regulated correctly. And I don't think that was understood. Sorry. Probably should have explained that better. That's my fault. But the cut in the fee is not as big of a deal as it has been made out to be, because like funds aren't being used correctly through EOF. But now that they are, even with the cut, it will be fine. No one is actually taking a hit. It just looks big on paper. I hope that makes more sense.
Yeah, Daphne.
All right, and it looks like that's been clarified in the chat otherwise. For now, we will go ahead and move towards a final vote on the approval of the EOF fee at $6.40. Vote yes if you would like to approve this fee, no if you would like to not approve the fee and continue debate, and abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. This does require a 2/3 majority to pass.
What do you do, man?
All right, we're currently looking at 8 responses to reach quorum. As it stands right now, this bill does not look like it's passing. Huh? Seven more votes, 6 more votes. All right, we are looking for 4 more votes to reach quorum. Three more votes.
There's a back end of the table at 8. Come on. Okay, sorry.
Where did I put my phone?
All right, we are currently looking for one more vote to reach quorum. All right, we have reached quorum on the legislation. Is there anyone who has not voted on this matter that still wishes to do so? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move to close this vote. No, it's rounding up. No, 20 and 10. All right, and with a vote of 20 in the affirmative to 10 in the negative to 0 abstentions, this motion clearly passes by the exact margin it needs to.
Okay.
All right, and with that, we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the student health fee.
Okay. I should just need a couple minutes. So for the student health, okay.
Motion approved.
Yeah, it did.
All right, so I see a motion to approve. I see a second from Julia. All right, perfect. And with that, do we have anyone who objects to moving towards a vote on the student health fee? All right. If no one objects, then we will move towards a vote. All right.
We passed the unions last, or on that first cycle?
Mhm.
I think it-
Yeah, we did.
Perfect, perfect. Health. Recreation, transportation. Okay. I'm just gonna.
What was the value on that?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
On the health fee?
It's.
Oh,
So
in
it's in
total.
all the FY 22 values.
Okay.
The second ones.
So as it's listed right now here, these are going to be the values that are going to the student health fee for this next fiscal year. And so you will be asked on like whether or not you approve these values for fiscal year 23. The poll will go out. Do you approve the student health fee for fiscal year 23? Yes, if you would like to approve the fee. No, if you would not like to, and abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. And this does require a 2/3 vote to pass.
60 cents.
And while we are seeking votes on that, I'm going to go ahead and let Sadie present the student recreation services fee as well. I'm not going to accept a motion until the voting is done, though.
Okay. So, sorry, updating the slides. So, did you say recreation?
Yeah.
All right, so up next we have the student recreation fee. So in fiscal year 2022 is at $50.80. In fiscal year 2023, the proposed allocation is an increase of $5.50, which is put at $56.30. This is the explanation up here that I don't have very well for you all. That's my bad. And so there's the explanation. If you're curious, sports clubs just decreased 50 cents. Everyone in sports clubs pays dues. Not all students can be in sports club. Just because like not all, yeah, it's competitive. And then for facilities, it was held flat. There's an expansion bond that's fixed. That's $12 that students will pay every single year, regardless of if we like it or not. And so we just choose to like it because it's more fun. And so that is what we have for recreation.
All right, do we have any questions regarding recreation services? Either here or online? Mary, we will wait for a motion because we are still waiting for votes.
Yeah.
But if there are no questions, then yeah, we'll just be waiting for these votes to come in on the student health fee, and then I'll seek that motion.
We just need 5 more votes.
So Sandy, hypothetically, what would happen if we defaulted on the expansion bond?
So, from what I understand, we wouldn't be allowed to. So, like, at the end of the day, what we do here, it's not necessarily law, these are recommendations. And so they first have to get passed through, like, our administration, and then they have to pass through KBOR, and our administration would block us defaulting, and KBOR would definitely block us on defaulting. However, should we default, then basically, like, theoretically, you know, KU says, that's totally fine, your integrity doesn't matter. And then KBOR's like, I agree. Then basically what happened is there'd be $0 going towards the expansion. Right now it's set for 2027 for the rec. And so it's like, I think like 4 stages or 5 stages, maybe we're on phase 3, I'm not really sure. But basically our just rec wouldn't get expanded in 2027, like maybe in 2028 if we got back on track in the next fiscal year. But yeah. So, like, I mean, long term, things would be pushed back by a year minimum, but I don't think we'd be allowed to. Because I thought about it. I was like, what would that look like? But it just doesn't seem like it's the right trajectory for us to take because, I don't know, also it's honoring past Senate's contracts. So, yeah. I think this expansion bond, though, has been the thing for a while. Like, they built the rec under Student Senate. Like, Student Senate built the rec.
Kevin Yoder.
Yes, Kevin Yoder built the rec. That's true. That is true.
All right, we're looking for 2 more votes to approve the student health fee. 1 more vote to approve the student health fee. Has anyone either in the room or on Teams not voted that has the ability to do so? We are still looking for 1 more vote to reach quorum. Solid. All right, we do have our 30th vote. Is there anyone else who has not had the ability to vote on this discussion that can do so? All right, seeing no objections, we'll go ahead and move to close the discussion on the health fee. And with a vote of 29 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 abstention, or rather 30 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 abstention, this motion passes unanimously.
That was me. I forgot to vote. Huh? The 30th? That was me. I forgot to vote.
Love that, Sadie. All right, so now I'll accept Mary's motion in regards to the rec center services fee here. And Sadie, would you like to second that?
A second. Oh, is it to just pass it?
Yeah, just to pass it with its current rating, which you already explained. So yeah, is there anyone who objects to that? I already got a second on that one, Stu. Any objections? All right, seeing none, I'll go ahead and get a vote posted in the chat, and then once I do that, we can go ahead and move on to the next presentation. All right, the vote will be, do you approve the recreation services fee for fiscal year 23? Yes, if you do approve it. No, if you would not like to, and abstain if you'd like to stay out of the discussion. This will require a 2/3 vote, and I'll leave that voting open until we reach quorum here. And we will then move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the transportation services fee.
Okay.
Sadie, you will have 2 minutes.
Okay. So, okay, so I was just double checking that I updated this. So basically for transportation, for bus procurement, it remained flat at $27.50. For Safe Ride, it remained flat at $7.50. For operations, it was decreased $4. So transportation is also one of the fees that has had quite the journey throughout this. What happened in finance this past week is there was a transportation representative who came in and said, look, we will try and figure it out with the $4, but this is our priority right now, is removing these certain stipulations. And so the finance committee was amenable to removing the stipulations that they recommended. The stipulations that stayed as priorities for both transportation and finance council were that high school students can ride for free, and then maintaining services of heavily trafficked routes is a priority. And so those were mutually agreed upon. In terms of stipulations, finance committee still passed the decrease of $4, and that's where we stand in terms of transportation. Are there any questions? I can answer any questions.
Any questions to Sadie? All right, seeing none, I'll seek a motion once the vote on the recreation services is complete. We are currently waiting for 9 outstanding votes to reach quorum. Now 8.
Okay.
Yeah, I know.
I could use this time to go over our totals while we're waiting for fee and what that means and things.
So as we're waiting for these final 5 votes to come in, Sadie's also going to go over like totals for the entire student fee.
So, just while we have some like time and things, just so we don't have to do this later. So in fiscal year 2022, the fee was at $491.95. With everything that's happened tonight and all the nights prior with fee, the fiscal year 2023 allocations at $492.60, which is an increase of 65 cents. Something that I want to note is that I do think, based off of communications that I've received from KU administration and conversations I've had with Board of Regents, that a 65-cent increase would be considered, and it's not like an automatic no or anything like that. I think that we have some good reasoning here. I think it could be passed by the Board of Regents. Because, I mean, we've done our due process, we've done our due diligence. I will try my best, should I have the opportunity to represent, like, fee in that space, to, like, represent all the hard work that you all have done, too. And so I do want to note that. And then also, made this presentation so long ago, y'all. Okay. So this is the only other thing that I have. This is just where student preferences were. It's more so just to like put into perspective what we're doing and things. So it's a 65-cent increase. I don't think it's not like last year was $25. So I would say we are definitely being more cognizant of these stats than last and things, but just all stuff to keep in mind. And then also the full Senate, the last full cycle, I think. Yeah, the last full cycle. I linked in the agenda the response forms. So if you all want to look at the stats and things like that, that's all accessible to you all, as is this presentation. This is actually in our current meeting doc. And everything's on there. It's on view only. So unfortunately, you all can't edit it, but that was kind of by design because I kind of like this presentation. So this is, this is not accurate anymore. So you can ignore that because I'm going to have to re-screenshot the new tables, but this is. I already edited it.
Thank you very much for that, Sadie. As it stands right now, we are looking for 4 more votes before we can approve the recreation services fee. So if you are someone who hasn't voted or know someone who hasn't voted, please make sure those come in.
I think.
So, Sadie, do you want to vote?
Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing. I'm so sorry. Okay, yeah, one second.
Yeah, that'll only bring us up to 27, but that's something.
I'm so sorry.
So as of right now, I have Stu who's voted, Blake Bush, Gabby Fisher, Eric Danes, Dorothy Haggard, Tasmin Wazetta Binti, Danae Esteban, Hypatia Medina, Nathan Nielsen, Julia Stopran, Alejandro Enga Lopez, Haramadov Talasila, Giovanna Pastor Herzog, Olivia Lara, Gordon Arijo, Martine Vasquez, Austin Stifler. Oh, we're at 30? Perfect. You can check those last votes here. All right, we're good to go. Anyone else who's not voted? I'm guessing not. All right, with that, no objections. I'll close the vote. And with a vote of 31 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this motion clearly passes.
Woo!
All right, do I see a motion to approve the transportation services fee? As is. I see a motion from Stu. Do I see a second? All right, second from Sadie. All right, and with that, do we have any objections in regards to the current values of the transportation services fee? All right, seeing none, I'll get that posted in the chat, and then we can move on to our final fee presentation.
Wow.
Thank you.
I'm so excited. Three 580. Okay. This is 1 second. I was gonna say up to date, but then it wasn't. No. Okay.
All right, I'll now be posting that poll. Do you approve the transportation services fee for fiscal year 2023? Yes, if you would like to approve it. No, if you would not like to and still debate it. Abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. This does require a 2/3 vote, and I'll let that run as we discuss our final fee, the UDK fee.
Perfect. Also on the slideshow, this is now updated. Okay. Okay. Up last is the University Daily Kansan. In fiscal year 2022, they were at $2. In fiscal year 2023, the proposed allocation from finance is $1.80. That is a decrease of 20 cents. Their request was this year $2.25 as basically a one-time increase to kickstart some more like revenue generating activities for them. On the flip side, the fee review subcommittee and then subsequently finance agreed that like since they do have these other avenues to generate revenue, they don't need to depend on Senate as much, and so they decreased it 20 cents. And then there are 130 students involved, and then they had over $65,000 in ad sales over the last 6 months. Their goal was 40,000, so they're doing well in terms of diversifying their revenue and things. And I think they're out of their debt too that they were in a couple years ago, for those of you who remember. So yeah, are there any questions about the UDK? Okay, cool.
All right, if none, we'll just wait for this other fee to finish in terms of voting, and then we'll move on.
Submit vote. Oh, and I guess all the other K-Board institutions are asking for fee increases as well. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a good insight to have.
As I get additional info, I will share it. So.
All right, we currently need 6 outstanding votes to reach quorum.
It's in the main part. That was my goal. I tried my best. Hey, honestly, you guys can't hear it. Afterwards. Yeah. 65 cents isn't bad. Nice. I had so much more to say.
Brilliant. Oh, you're good. Oh, I was just going to say as an outline for the rest of the night here, following a vote on the UDK fee, we'll have the bill to fund line item allocations through the block funding, and then the code revision for the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities, and then a bill to fund the Student Senate Judicial Branch, a bill to amend the Constitution, and then another bill to amend the Constitution. So definitely still a few more items to get through, but hopefully we can get through them expeditiously. That is, if we can get this vote done quickly. We are still looking for 4 more votes to reach quorum on transportation services. 2 more votes. All right, seeking 1 more vote to get final approval on the fee.
I'm double checking. I think I did.
Oh, yeah, I have you,
I
Sadie.
did already. We're good.
That's the question. It's like, I think it's just the very beginning, right?
Wesley, you asked me if your vote had gone through, and as of right now, I don't have a vote. So if you could try again.
See what I'm saying?
All right, now we have 30 votes. Is there anyone who has not voted on this subject that wishes to do so? Seeing no changes, we'll go ahead and close this vote. And with a vote of 30 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this motion passes unanimously for the transportation services fee.
Oh, sorry.
All right, and with that, I'm now seeking a motion on voting to approve the UDK fee. So moved from Sadie. Do I see a second? I see a second from Stu. All right, and with that, is there anyone who's opposed to approving the current UDK fee allocation for fiscal year 23 at $1.80? Seeing no objections, I'll go ahead and post a vote. And Sadie, you may now, well, I would say step down, but we have line.
Yes. Oh, sorry, that was like the worst tone I've ever used in my life. Okay, this is the breakdown. It's updated for you all.
Give me a second to get this posted real quick, though.
But just in case you're all curious while we're voting, it's up there for you. So if anyone has any questions over it, let me know.
All right, so the poll that's going in here is going to be, do you approve the UDK fee for fiscal year 2023? Yes, if you would like to, no, if you would not like to, and abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. And that poll is now live. We do need a 2/3 majority to pass this, and this will be one of our final fee bills. As soon as the line gets passed, the fee bill will be at its complete form.
I mean, pop it up. Line. This is line. The next one, right?
Yeah. I'm not going to do that.
If I had the will and the time, I would do it.
Still looking for 11 more votes on the UDK fee. Now 10. Now 9. If we could keep that same pace. All right, currently looking for 3 more votes, 2 more votes to reach quorum.
I think Sadie hasn't voted. Oh, she did? Okay.
Yeah.
For anyone who's not voted in room or online, we are looking for 2 more voting members to reach quorum.
That's what I'm saying.
This is next week.
You would have it. Is your mom?
That kind of. I think so. Not that I'm
You think it's my mother's first time? Give them the latest.
Yeah, I'm an orphan, so.
I can be your mom. Maybe that's a name.
Maybe that'll be better than whatever happened on 30th.
All right, we are now at 30 votes. Is there anyone who has not voted on this that has the ability to do so? Seeing none, we will go ahead and move to close the vote. And with a vote of 30 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this motion clearly passes. All right, and our last fee bill, the line item bill amendment here of 2 minutes.
Okay, perfect. And then in the rush earlier, I forgot to mention this, so I want to mention it now very clearly. So for Block this year and for Line, we did something different where we had 2 members of Finance Council who were elected to serve as chairs, because ordinarily it's the finance chair, but then that's Line, Block, Fee plus finance. It's just a lot of work, and then also all that information, all that knowledge, all that experience is condensed into one individual. So we decided this year to kind of spread it out, and so for Block, we had the Sahar Baha, who helped us there, and she was absolutely incredible, organized the whole thing, led all the meetings, and then helped in the aftermath in terms of coordinating with all the different Block entities to receive funding, and helped me build the bill and everything like that. And then for Line, we had Jeffrey Brown, who's elected by Finance, who did all the same thing. He led all the meetings. Or it was one meeting, but it was a long meeting. He led the meeting, made sure everything stayed on track, helped me thereafter to get everything set, all this whole bill and things. And so there's a lot of hard work from those 2 individuals specifically. And so I just wanted to take a minute to acknowledge them, just because I think it's important. And so that's also why they're up here as authors. And so, yeah. So if you see them, say thank you, because this bill, Line and Block would not exist without them. But that being said, Line, like I described earlier with Block, it's basically the same thought process, except Line exists just for student organizations. So all of these are fully student organizations. $100 is general funding. If anyone applies, they get $100, basically. And so that's why you see a bunch of $100. And then if there's more, then that's what that is. So the American Society of Mechanical Engineers was given $100 or allocated $100. Rotaract was allocated $200. The Asian Classical Music Initiative was allocated $100. The Nepali Student Association was allocated $100. OSM was allocated $100. These 3 were moved to DEI Line primarily. So this $100 is given to them through line item for full Senate, but they were also granted their full allocations in DEI Line, just so you know. And then
Do we have a time extension or need one? Right, I see a time extension from Hamad. Motion to call the question. Okay, do I have a second?
The total is $31,753.
Where's the second? Oh, Stu. Perfect. All right. Is there anyone who objects to calling to question on the line item allocation bill? All right. Seeing none, we can go ahead and move towards a vote here.
Okay.
We should be like Katie Bass.
Say, quick question. Okay, so for the DEI line item, was that approved under the DEI fund?
Yes, so the
Okay.
DEI fund only, their DEI line was only approved by the line, or is only approved by the DEI. It never comes through full Senate. They have
Okay.
complete autonomy.
And that fund has already been supplied with the amount of money
Yes.
that's needed to fund DEI
Yes, so the
line.
DEI line is basically financed through, so this for FY 22 and then also for FY 23, they have enough surplus,
Okay.
basically to carry forward to fund the DEI line. Next year, they're gonna have to come in probably about $1.
Okay.
$1.50.
So we didn't need to have to come through with this?
No, not with an
They just
increase or
approved all
anything.
their own funding
Yeah.
internally?
Exactly, and so when they will have to come through full Senate and finance and things is when they come in
For an increase?
Yes.
Okay.
But other than that, they just run autonomously on their own.
Sounds good.
And, yeah, no, they don't have to get financing.
Solid. I just wanted to know just in case we
Yeah.
needed to add them to this or
No, they're-
otherwise.
Nope, yeah, they're completely separate, same process, but we run them like parallel, but
And they're ran under that fund exclusively and not the unallocated?
yes,
NP.
specifically, yeah.
Okay, perfect.
So they're not, so the 90 cents to DEI fund doesn't even touch DEI line. Because right now they've just been operating off a surplus, and so we'll have to add like a DEI fund and split it into two next year, and the DEI fund and the DEI line.
Okay, sounds good. All right, and so now I will send the poll here. Do you approve line item allocations for fiscal year 23? If you'd like to approve these allocations, vote yes. If you do not approve of them, vote no, and abstain if you'd like to stay out of the discussion. This is an amendment to the student org fee, and so it does require 2/3 to pass.
But you know, that's how I set it up last year, so I mean, so next year, it'll need, the year after.
Never shoot.
Okay. Yeah, no, it makes sense considering how much avoid going through the
Yeah.
assembly anyway, so.
Exactly, and so also, because whenever it's in the charter, I'm not applying to $120,000, and it's gonna get another, fee. This was year, and I was like, oh my gosh, we cannot have it. So then, I was like, well, how can we get my student college? So the airline said, come through the airline, you're saying it's pretty poor. We have an additional $7,000 hang out every year, I'm using like really this. Great, so we're not really well. Yeah, that's kind of how it started.
We need a plan to do it.
Yeah, it's so good. And that's funny, it worked perfectly, because like, that's basically what I did last year. It's just like, it's totally different. It works well, I think. And it's a better name than like, you know, because it's kind of demeaning.
We're currently missing 6 votes. Can we double check if like everyone in this room voted, just because like sometimes we do forget? Thank you. It's okay. Well, no, actually, yeah, some people. Rare moment.
All right, looking for one more vote to reach quorum.
You're not right.
I don't know if you want to brought it up. What? I don't really find those.
All right, we've now reached quorum with 32 members. Is there anyone who would like to vote on this that has not yet done so? All right, seeing no objections, we'll move ahead to close the poll. And with a vote of 32 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this motion clearly passes. And with that, the entirety of the Student Senate campus fee package has been approved. So yeah, I'd also like to give a big round of applause to Sadie Williams, the fee review committee, Sahar Baha, and Jeffrey Brown for going through all this work.
Never again.
All right, so we are now closed on that, and we will move on to the next item on our agenda, which is the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities revision.
Let's see. Files. Code. Here we go. All right, and I believe this is going to be presented by Wesley.
Wesley, are you on to present? Perfect.
Can you all see? This is the right bill, right, Wesley?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Yeah,
Wesley,
I'll scroll down as you go.
Okay.
I'm not gonna read the entire document. I'm just after we get past the first section, I'm just gonna go over the changes.
Oh yeah, we can go through the changes.
Would you like 2 minutes or 5 minutes, Wesley?
Just probably 5 minutes, just to account for any possible technical difficulties.
Okay. All right, if I could have order in the chamber here, we're going to move on to our next item here. All right, Wesley, whenever you're ready, I'll start the timer for your 5 minutes.
All right, thank you. The majority of the changes to the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities are simply updating links, because as KU changes its websites, etc., links that KU students will go to this document to try to find to see, how is this defined, what does this mean, etc. Going to those policy documents, they'll get out of date and it'll say, oops, sorry, no website. So we work to update all those, make sure all of them are acceptable and that they work. If you could scroll down a little bit. There we go. Now this section received some of the heaviest changes for definitions. We specified that an organization means a group of students registered at KU, because for some reason the group students wasn't entered in before. And then for E had the biggest overhaul for the term student press. It used to be that student press only meant, for example, like the big 3 student press organizations at KU, UDK, KJHK, KUJH. But this leaves out all the independent students, for example, in like Journalism 415, who are required to act as a reporter, to do student press for their own portfolio, report on stories, etc., and they're required to by the school, but they wouldn't be protected under the student code in the same way. So instead, student press means a student acting within a journalistic capacity, whether or not they are part of a registered organization. The term journalistic capacity shall refer to students investigating or reporting on a story for any medium or publication. So that way the publication doesn't have to be a student organization. Instead, a student acting as a press, like a student press, reporting for a story, etc., for, let's say, 415 or any required class, it would allow them to still have the protections in the code. And then G, for the term jurisdiction applies to behavior, 3 was added, and then that means the numbers had to be bumped up. And this was in order to apply with Title IX, comply with Title IX. So on premises owned or controlled by a student organization that is officially recognized by the university, it doesn't necessarily expand it, but it allows the student affairs to investigate student organization behavior without explicitly relating it to number 4, because number 3 is a standard for Title IX, and it was supposed to be added earlier, etc. But the code hasn't been revised since 2018 because of COVID, so this is the first code revision in a long time, so that's why there are more changes than usual. And then scrolling down to Section 3, Rights A. It adds to be free from retaliation for the student press. This is to bolster the rights of student journalists. The resolution that was passed 2 weeks ago was a good first step, but this sort of codifies a lot of those protections. And then in one, requirements for the maintenance of order, support of any cause by orderly and peaceful means that does not disrupt a vital operation of the institutions permitted. So before, under the student code, you can't disrupt pretty much any operation of the student of the university in a protest, technically. And in this time, we narrowed it down so that way it is a vital operation. So that way the university can't claim that a protest, stopped an administrator from walking on the sidewalk they wanted to, and that's why they all get, hit with student code violations, etc. So this protects the rights of students to protest on campus. And then the rest of these are just link updates, as I've mentioned before. And then for K, it removes students are held accountable to their behavior on the section talking about mental health. This was a suggested change from 2020 that was not passed because Student Senate more or less fell apart during that time. And basically, it just means that it gives all of these changes, etc., have gone through both Katie Treadwell in Student Affairs and Bill Lars in Student Legal Services. This suggested change, what it does is it allows Student Affairs to be more lenient with like a mental health crisis. So, and that's the purpose of that. And then for section non-academic misconduct, we removed but is not limited to all of these. To all the sections for violating a core value, and that is because while Student Affairs never has gone outside of the student code in charging someone with a violation, they sort of had that ability to in the old language.
All right. As of right now, I'm looking now for a motion to extend speakers' time. All right. I see a motion to extend. Hamad, by how much? 5 minutes. Wesley, do you want to go ahead and second that?
Sure.
All right. Any opposition to extending speakers' time by 5 minutes? All right. With no opposition, we'll go ahead and extend by 5. Wesley, you can continue.
Thank you. So before they could, Katie Treadwell said she never would, but the code language would allow the office to. Bill and Katie agreed that it would be accessible to remove that, and Bill advocated for it as well. So that way, students are upheld to the standards specifically set in the code. So that way, if something needs to be added or removed, students have that say. So that way, we know exactly what we could be, essentially prosecuted for by Student Affairs. So that is for every one of these sections. It removes the but is not limited to. And then for 5, disruption, it has a section for student protest to protect that right. Yet again, a student participating in a nonviolent protest protected in this code shall not be charged with this violation. Activities protected by this code cannot be disruptive. So essentially, it removes any sort of like loophole that could be possible for, let's say, a protest. That way, students cannot be charged with disrupting campus in a protected student protest under the code. So that way there's no possibility of like mental gymnastics or what have you. And then scrolling down, more removing but is not limited to. And then for alcohol and drugs, it is the screen scrolling down with me?
Yeah, so is it on the non-academic misconduct procedures, section 7? Sanctions?
I'm a little bit above.
Oh,
I'm at alcohol. So D1.
Oh, D1. Okay, there we go. My bad.
Thank you. This just specifies, as described in University Drug and Alcohol Policy, because before the language would just be technically drinking would be a violation, especially with the expansion of jurisdiction under Title IX. So instead it specifies university drug and alcohol policy, which specifies, sort of like illegal use instead of just like the concept of drinking alcohol. Then scrolling down, this is more so formatting for section VII, non-academic misconduct procedures, sanctions, and limitations. And then for sanctions, it sort of specifies what exactly they could be. Students found responsible for instances of non-academic misconduct will be assigned sanctions. Sanctions are meant to educate the responsible student, prepare harm when appropriate, and provide accountability. Students will be assigned both educational and accountability sanctions when appropriate. More than one sanction and/or educational measure may be imposed. Listed in order of increasing severity are the accountability sanctions that may be applied to non-academic misconduct offenses. Then scrolling down, there's a new one for 11. There's a previous section on the revocation of admission if you lied. This sort of moves it to its right place and where it's technically a sanction. So if you gain admission to KU through false information, then it can be revoked. And that would be a sanction. It was just previously in a non-sanctioned section. This fixes that. That's formatting. And then for records relating to incidents of non-academic misconduct are attained according to university policy, and that's set in the University Senate Rules and Regulations as well, so it's sort of outside of the scope of this code. Non-academic misconduct records not resulting in suspension or expulsion are retained for 7 years, and then purged from the student record. Non-academic misconduct records involving suspension or expulsion are retained indefinitely, and then there's the registrar policy. And then there's formatting updates for number 2 on the Senate Rules and Regulations that I was referring to. And then 3, proper actions and inquiries of the Student Rights Council acting in accordance with the Student Senate Constitution. Basically, it just makes it to where Student Senate has the ability to enforce the code as well, because the Constitution of Student Senate says we can, but the code didn't explicitly say it, so this just allows that in. It was never forbidden. It just makes it to where the 2 documents sort of agree more. And with that, I'm done.
All right, thank you very much, Wesley. All right, and we are currently out of time, so I'll be seeking either questions or a motion to call to question. I see a motion from Mary. All right, Mary has a motion to call question, and then I see a second from Stu. All right, and with that, is there anyone who opposes calling to question on this legislation? All right, seeing none, we will go ahead and move towards a vote on revising the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities. All right, that will now be sent to the chat. Do you approve the proposed revisions to the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities? Yes, if you do approve them. No, if you would like to continue debating. And abstain if you'd like to stay out of the discussion. This does require a 2/3 vote to pass.
And after this one, we do have 3 very quick bills, but that's it. One's a funding bill for our judicial branch, and then 2 amendments, and then that's it for the year. So, yep, stick with us. They shouldn't be too bad. Alessia did that. So are people voting right now? Okay, should I go ahead and start presenting the next one then in the meantime? Yeah, all right.
All right, so while we go ahead and wait for votes to come in on the code, we are going to go ahead and move on to our next bill here, which is Bill 2022-57, a bill to fund the Student Senate Judicial Branch. And Umberto, you will have 2 minutes.
All right. Thank you all. So as you know, this is the first year that we're trying to give a sort of stipend, just remuneration for folks' labor in the in our judicial branch. Just because in the past, and even we've realized, like trying to get them going this year, it's really, really hard for the courts to have like a strong, independent autonomy and action. And incentive to do so. So hopefully this is incentivizing people to, apply to the court, take it seriously, put a lot of effort so that we have a functioning judicial branch, and so that we don't have problems of like exec having to, overstep to solve problems. Hopefully this will help all that. And it's $2,500 for everyone's stipends. Any questions about this bill? And if not, I'll be looking for a motion.
Hamad, is that a neg speech? All right. Any questions for Umberto before we move on to Hamad's neg speech? Oh. Can you ask that question in a catch box?
So Hamad is asking if I could do a breakdown of this money and who is going to and how much. So basically, it is $250 for the members. It is going to 3 members of the Constitutional Court and 7 members of the Elections Commission, making it a total of $2,500, I think.
All right. And then Naya, you also have a question. Can we throw the catch box over? Wow.
Okay, so my question would be, if let's say this does get approved and then in the future only like 5 members, like maybe the student senate can only get like 5 members, would like the stipends increase for the 5 members, or would it just stay for 250 and then I guess like whatever's left over will just kind of like roll over into like the next year? Or
yeah, I think it would definitely stay until 250 unless like the chamber decides that they should get increased. So regardless of like there being less members, they would most certainly stick to 250. And I do want to say like this like payment will kind of get like automized into Senate like finances overall. So like in the line that we approved, like it had the salaries and everything. So this bill like wouldn't have to happen again in future years.
It actually would, because judicial salaries weren't approved as part of like the current student work fee.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right, so just to correct that, this legislation will only apply to stipends granted this year to the judicial branch. If the student senate wanted to pay the judicial branch next year because it's not included in the fee, then it would have to be another stipend request through a bill.
Okay, yeah, my bad. I thought they were like included, but that clarifies it.
Right, and with that, we're out of question time. Hamad, we can now move on to your negative speech. You have 2 minutes.
Cool. So the reason why I have a negative speech for this specific bill is just because we're giving money to a group of individuals that, in my opinion, hasn't done much throughout the year. And let's be honest, I personally think that Student Senate, the legislative branch, has done a lot more time in Senate, and like making the positions competitive this year, I don't think wouldn't make sense. I would rather have this bill be for FY23, so you have individuals for the whole entire year getting compensated for the whole entire year versus for a couple months towards the end of the year. So I just don't think the full amount should be awarded. Maybe a prorated amount of how much time the individuals have been here divided by the year. So the amount being allocated divided by the year. But I personally just don't think $250 for this year's judicial branch makes sense, especially since they've met only a few times. And I can count those few times in one hand, probably.
Are you finished?
Yeah. Any questions?
All right, Naya, it looks like you have a question.
Yes, I do. So do you know, because I know you're like suggesting like possibly like a prorated amount. So do you have a suggestion for that, or no? I guess like know the numbers, or would we need to like calculate that to like make that suggestion?
I mean, so what I do with chairs is, for example, one chair steps down a certain point of the year. I just take that amount of days and then split it between the two people that have staffed as chair. So
okay.
The stipend of $500, one person gets $400, the other one gets $100. Okay. For the judicial branch, I think $50 stipends for this semester should be fine. And then starting next year, the full 250 would make sense.
Yeah. So then.
Yeah.
So sorry, that's a follow-up question.
And I'm open to like friendlying that in.
Well, that would have to be like a substantial amendment. Yeah.
Thanks,
That's
Ahmad.
like a huge financial change.
It's taking out just a 2.
Huh?
In 250, just taking the 2 out. That's it. That's a friendly.
I don't know if I consider that a friendly. But yeah, you can introduce that if you'd like.
Yeah, so I would introduce 2 amendments. One, reducing the bill down for now to $50, and then the other bill or the other amendment would be to put in the amount for next year. So this conversation doesn't have to happen next year until block hearings.
Wait, so
it would be 2 amendments.
So you'd like to allocate 300 then?
Yes.
Okay.
But it would be for 2 different fiscal years, and I'll figure it out with the treasurer for next year.
Well, no, so because it would be 50 for this year in the prorated amount, and then 250 for the next year.
Correct.
So 50 for this year's courts in fiscal year 22, and 250 for fiscal year 23 courts. All right. So can you write that out to like have it presented in the chat? And then I will also say we're seeking one more vote on the approval of the proposed revisions to the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities. And so that also pretty much determines whether or not we vote on this amendment. So if we could get a final vote in. All right, and you can see Hamad's amendment there on the floor, 50 for fiscal year 22 and 250 for fiscal year 23. So yeah, and that would, numbers-wise, what would that set the allocations to, Hamad?
I think it's 500 for this year, and 20, so 3,000 would be the total like of both years. Right, because it's 50 times 10 people.
Well, ideally, there's only supposed to be 5 on the commission.
Oh, right, because we
Yeah.
created the Constitution. So that would be 50 times. But it is 500 for this one, right? Because it is 10 currently.
Yeah.
Okay.
It would be 2,500.
So exactly the amount of time.
Yeah. So Hamad, funnily enough, this actually can be friended in because if we're setting it to what ideally the court should be set up as with only 8 people on the courts, then it would be exactly 2,500. So this would just be a reworking of the money. Brilliant. All right, so if you could just correct that on the legislation itself.
Yeah, this legislation is not added.
Oh, so.
But like I will edit it. Alessia, Alessia.
Motion to call to question with the friendly from Max, and do I see a second? Second from Camden. All right. And with that, it has been properly moved and seconded to vote on this bill. Is there anyone who opposes a vote? Seeing none, we will move towards a vote once we close out this other one. All right, all of those votes are accurate to the body. So we will go ahead and close the other one out.
Wait, where's the agenda? 2, 4, 6.
All right, and so with a vote of 27 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 3 abstentions, this vote clearly passes to amend the Student Code of Rights and Responsibilities. For the first time in 4 years that a student senate has been able to do that. All right, and so now we'll go ahead and vote on this bill.
What was I gonna do?
And this was 57, correct, Umberto?
Yeah. Sorry, one sec. Yes.
Cool. All right, do you approve Senate Bill 2022-57? Yes, if you would like to approve the bill. No, if you would not like to, and abstain if you'd like to stay out of the discussion. Since this is a financial allocation, it will only be a simple majority vote. And with that, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next item on the agenda here, which is 2022-46, a bill to amend Constitution Title II, Article 8, Section 4.1, which I believe is your amendment, Mary.
Woo.
Stay with us, folks. We just have 2 more pieces of legislation.
Yeah, so like I said last time, ultimately, do you have a question?
No, sorry, he said 2 more pieces of straight legal information.
Oh, okay, my bad. Like I said last time when I presented this, ultimately we're just adding a couple of voting members from the SGD, ETC, and OMA. It led to a disaster when we were trying to vote for the DEI Fund Board money. Yeah, so basically we just need more members. I've already presented this, and this has been available for a while, so if you have questions, ask, but like it's a pretty easy vote.
Thank you for that, Mary. Any questions regarding that?
Sweet.
Seeing none, thank you very much, Mary. And we will seek a motion once we get 7 more votes on Bill 57. Now 6. All right, we're currently seeking 2 more votes on Senate Bill 57. We are now looking for 1 more vote to meet quorum.
Not yet. Should I still present?
Here we go.
Oh, good.
All right, let me go ahead and close it, and then we'll move. All right, is there anyone else who has the ability to vote on this that has not yet done so? Seeing none, I will go ahead and close this vote. And with a vote of 30 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 1 abstention, this motion clearly passes, and the Constitution is amended. All right, and Umberto, you may, let's see. Oh, well, we need to get a motion in to amend the Constitution for Mary's legislation. So, Mary, you want to motion that? Motion to pass. Danae, you want a second? Awesome. All right, and so it's been properly moved and seconded. And so do we have anyone who objects to that? All right, seeing no objection, we will now move to call the question on the bill. And I'll get that posted in the chat.
All right. And
Oh,
while
let me get it
yeah,
posted
finish.
first.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish posting.
Beto, before.
Yeah.
Is that one sent? Did you send them? I'm not going to send them a picture. Then we're going to run the last item. If we want to get both of them. Yeah.
Cypress.
Oh,
All right. Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and get this posted here in the chat. And so the vote is going to be, do you approve Senate Bill 2022-46? Yes, if you'd like to approve it. No, if you would not like to, and abstain if you'd like to stay out of the discussion. This one here will require a 2/3 vote. And let's see, Umberto, do you want to talk about that bill before, or do you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, I'll just talk about this one real quick, and then the development director.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll now move on to the next item on our agenda while that vote goes through to discuss Bill 56, a bill to amend the Constitution, Title 5, to remove illegal and discriminatory language. Umberto, you have 2 minutes.
All right. This is a kind of a tricky legislation, so if you could please pay attention, because I would love to know your all's opinion on this. So basically, this here came up as due to an occasion in the semester where the DEI fund had denied funds to a Christian group because the funds were going to be used for traveling to a religious event. And our Constitution originally said that we were not allowed to give funds to any religious organization if they were going to use those funds for religious events. And we got into a whole lot of trouble, almost got sued because of that, because the Kansas state law protects religious groups heavily. So basically, limiting or prohibiting that funding to them is unconstitutional. But now, Dr. Womlik, do you think you could talk a little bit more into this, or just what the general counsel said, or why they think we should go forward with this bill? Yeah, just very briefly, why it's important.
You don't want to talk about what you do? Okay. I was going to say, I'm getting his box.
These are cool. In short, by recommendation of both the attorneys in legal services for students and those in the general counsel's office, by your own constitution, the existing funding sections that prohibit funds going to religious organizations violates your own language against discriminatory action, but there's also a Kansas state statute, and I can read it, but the gist is basically, if you're going to give, you can't not give resources to a student organization that you would give to another student organization solely because they're a religious organization. So let's see what it says. No post-secondary educational institution may take any action or enforce any policy that would deny a religious student organization any benefit available to any other student association or discriminate against a religious student or association with respect to such benefit. So they're recommending that we change this language that's been in the Constitution. And that is what Humberto has in front of you.
All right. We are out of time, so if there are any extensions, we will need a motion. Mary? All right. I will accept that motion once this other motion has been approved. All right. We currently are waiting for 8 more votes on Senate Bill 2022-46, and so if folks could get those in, then we can move on to this last bill.
Should I bring up the committee of a whole one?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is also an oversight that we made on the ledge tracker here. So due to one of the sessions where we lost quorum, we unfortunately did not pass a bill related to the development director position and towards like what we're funding in the next fiscal year for Student Senate with that position. And so we would be looking for a committee of the whole motion to sort of introduce that legislation and pass it. It's legislation that was introduced to the body, but just did not get assigned to the meeting itself. All right, I see a motion from Mary. Okay, perfect. And then I see a second from Stu. And so I will act on that motion shortly. We are currently waiting for 4 more votes to pass this bill here. All right, we're currently seeking 3 more votes on this legislation. We are seeking 2 more votes.
Alessi. Thank you.
If there are no objections, then I'll move to close the vote. And with a vote of 31 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this motion clearly passes. And the rules are amended. All right, and with that, I saw a motion from Mary to move into committee of the whole to generate legislation regarding the development director position, and then a second from Stu. Is there any objection to this motion? All right, seeing none, Umberto, can you pull up the legislation?
Yeah. Do you remember what number?
51.
51.
Oh, we're gonna pull out of this pretty immediately.
Yeah. We are in committee of the whole, right?
Wait, is that the SSC? Yep.
Yeah. So basically, this position here is creating, instead of the associate treasurer as we know it today, it's a development director, and they're going to be in charge of like some similar stuff. Some of the things are being added. I don't know if Hamad or Mary would like to just give a little bit more into detail what this, or
would you like to, or can we get that catch box that's in front of you, Danae, over to them?
Okay, quick question. Does anyone have a question about the bill or even want me to talk about it? If not, I have endorsement from Sadie and Mary to change the position's name to Fund Development Director. It's going to be a lot more fun than working underneath the treasurer. With that, I'll be looking for a motion to approve.
Well, a motion to come out of committee of the whole with the legislation.
That.
All right, so moved. Say it, second from Sadie. All right. And with that, is there anyone opposed to moving out of committee of the whole with this legislation that has totally been newly generated? All right, seeing none, that has now been added to our agenda. Do I see a motion to vote on this legislation? I see a motion from Stu, second from Sadie. All right, and is there anyone who's opposed to moving towards a vote on Senate Bill 2022-51? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and get that posted. No. Yeah, that'll get in after.
Gabby, so no, we still have to vote on the discriminatory language.
Yeah, so this will be one of our last two motions. So this one is, do you approve Senate Bill 2022-51? Yes, if you would like to approve it. No, if you would not like to, and abstain if you'd like to stay out of the discussion. Following this, once this bill comes through, I'll be looking for a motion to pass our final piece of legislation, and then we will go to announcements. And so, yeah, if folks could just very quickly vote on this legislation so we can move through, that would be great. All right, currently at 17, 18, 19, looking for 11 more votes, 10 more votes. 9 more votes, 8 more votes, 6 more votes, 5 more votes, 3 more votes, 'All right, we are at 31. Brilliant. Get that closed. Is there anyone who has the ability to vote on this that has not yet done so? Seeing no objection, we will go ahead and move to close the vote. My computer lets me. All right, and with a vote of 28 in the affirmative, 2 in the negative, and 1 abstention, this motion clearly passes. All right, and now do I see a motion to vote on 2022-56? I see a motion from Mary. Do I see a second? I see a second from Austin. Perfect. All right, and with that, is there anyone who objects to moving to vote on this legislation? Seeing none, we will go ahead and get this to a vote.
Is this our final vote?
This is our final vote, so this will count as your final attendance vote for this session. For as much as that matters, considering we're transferring power in a few weeks. All right, this shall be titled, Do You Approve Senate Bill 2022-56? Yes, if you would like to approve it. No, if you would not like to, and abstain if you would like to stay out of the discussion. And I will let that run until we reach quorum. And while we vote, just to save time, I'll also let one of our senators, Stu, give an announcement.
Hey, everybody.
Or you can use the podium.
Good evening, everybody. I'm going to try to make this as quick and painless as possible. So this Friday at 9 a.m., we are doing a charity ruck event, which is basically a hike. We're going to do a 5K version where you just do 2 laps basically around the campus, and then a 10K, which is going to be 4 laps around the campus. The idea is to raise money for the the campus cupboard. If anybody wants to participate, a ruck is basically just a hike normally with a weighted pack, but you don't have to bring the pack if you don't want to. If you're unsure about anything, just please feel free to come up and ask me. I'm happy to explain everything to you if anybody's interested. Also, we're going to have QR codes on the back of everybody's backpacks and everything, so that people can actually donate while we're doing the event. We could use 1 or 2 more volunteers, so if you don't necessarily want to participate in the event itself, but want to help out, please come up and let me know, because we can always use more help. And I just want to say, the idea is to have both students, just regular university students, veterans, and ROTC, and as many people as possible. So if anybody would like to, please come up and I'll be in the back. So if you have any questions, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And Sadie, do you also have an announcement?
Yeah, I do. Okay, so I don't get paid for fee. I do get paid to work for the CCO and things. And so part of what we do in the CCO for Center for Community Outreach, our big spring thing, is Into the Streets Week. It's next week. Our theme is sustainability. There's multiple events literally every single day next week. And alongside of that, a part of the bylaws for all senators is that you all complete at least 1 community service hour with the CCO. And so if you have not done that, this is your opportunity to do so. It's a great way to get involved. And yeah, so that's all next week. And then also, program coordinator applications are open for the CCO now. And so if you are interested in getting involved in a different area on campus that's more service oriented, it's a great place to be. I've been there for 2 years, and it's genuinely the most supportive, uplifting environment I've ever been a part of.
And is that a paid position?
Program coordinators are not. It's
Okay.
volunteer. It's
Volunteer.
2 hours a week.
Okay, gotcha.
So.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Sadie. Just while we're making the rounds for announcements, I will also say we are looking for 5 more votes on this last bill. So if you've not voted, or you know anyone who's not voted yet, please do so.
Also, the big event extended their volunteer window. So if you have not signed up for the big event yet, you can. Naya reminded me. Thank you. What would you do if I just... Really?
Well, I guess.
I guess just in terms of dates.
Let me open it real quick.
Imagine if I did. I feel so bad. She's alive.
Can I make an announcement?
All right, we're currently looking for 2 more votes. Hamad, yes, you certainly can.
Okay, so I got this opportunity sent to me by the transit program coordinator for KU, and it is an opportunity for 1 student to be on the Transportation 2050 Planning Committee, representing KU Student Senate and the Transit Commissioner on a year-long board. If you are interested in this position, it is 1 meeting per month for the next 15 months, and basically you're planning transit across the state of city of Lawrence for 2050. So you can just imagine how old we will be when that happens. So just let me know, send me a Teams message if you're interested. If there's no contention, you're automatically on.
What about Martin?
Thank you.
Yay! Oh yeah. Also, by the way, so this is
if everyone could just listen here.
So an update from the Elections Commission. The election cycle is still going on normally. So that means next week there will be this will all be posted in our socials later today. But next week Monday will be the presidential, vice presidential candidate debates, and then the election will go from Tuesday to Thursday. And student affairs, we'll send out the mass email, whatever, but make sure you all are getting people to vote and stuff. And they do apologize for a little lack of communication, but now going forward, it's all good. So I'm passing this along.
All right, thank you for that, Umberto. Is there anyone who has not yet voted on the bill who would like to vote? Seeing no changes in the past 30 seconds, I'm going to go ahead and get the poll down. And with a vote of 29 in the affirmative, 1 in the negative, and 0 abstentions, this motion clearly passes. Do I see a motion to adjourn? All right, a motion from Holly, second from Stu. All right, is there anyone who objects to adjournment? Seeing none, we are officially adjourned.
If anybody has any questions about the rush, please stop by so I can get you.
Oh.
So I can get